All right, we are live again, 8 o'clock, just like I said we would be. We're just gonna huddle up and allow people to join. Uh, Yesterday was a great conversation for people, so we're just going to wait and allow people to get on because this should be a very interesting conversation. This should be a conversation that everybody is interested in. Just a few housekeeping things, make sure that my volume is good. But we have these recorded and I'll be breaking up these things to make sure that people get the segments that are necessary. So we're just waiting for people to just log on in. Just want to make sure that people can hear me properly. I think yesterday I got a lot of texts about yesterday. I think yesterday was very monumental for people because we talked about winning and the facets of winning and looking at the Unabomber's manifesto, which I think a lot of people were surprised and shocked about because you've been made to believe that the Unabomber was this big time criminal. And yeah, he did some crimes, but there was more to him than that. And the reason why he did what he did, like I said, if he was working for the state in doing what he did in terms of sending people bombs in the mail, he would be seen as a hero, right? As long as it was the assigned enemy of the state, he would probably have a monument to him. But because the state demands a monopoly on power and violence, he was seen as a criminal. But he had his own reasons for why he did what he did. Essentially, he was against industrialized society. But I don't think that that's even the most important things about the Unabomber. His manifesto talking about human beings, the power principle, surrogate activities, industrial society, depression, people not having a real meaningful existence. Whereas, when you were hunter gatherer societies, every day was a meaningful existence because you had to do meaningful things to exist, just to exist. And as you succeeded in those endeavors in hunting, planting food, and being successful, building homes, being able to protect yourselves from animals in the wild, you developed confidence in yourself and you developed this ability to believe in yourself through accomplishments that were reasonably difficult. But the problem is that when you're living in an industrial society, you don't have to do reasonably difficult things just to survive. All you have to do is have a job, and it only requires one thing, which is obedience. The people who are tuned in, let me know if you can hear me all right. Just, text in and just let me know that you can hear me. I know we had some mic issues, and I think I figured out what that issue was. I think I had the mic gain on too loud, so it was clipping. Now I've completely turned it down, so hopefully you can hear me very good. If there's an issue, just go ahead and let me know. But those who are listening, go ahead and just type in. Just let me know that you can hear everything all right. And today is going to be a day people requested this topic. So the topic that was requested was to talk about economics and money and Bitcoin. And it's going to be revelatory for a lot of people. Okay, good. You can hear just fine. And Sister Kai Wilson, feel free to, I'm going to put the link in. Colin, I know that you have experience with Bitcoin. And, it'd be cool for us to have a conversation that people can hear. I'm going to, on Facebook, post the link for anyone to join and bring in some commentary. But what we're going to go over is, the concepts of money, what money really is, this thing that everyone wakes up to work for, we certainly should know more about it, right? I mean, that's what most people spend most of their time doing, is getting money. Seemed that it would make sense to actually understand what it is, what are the qualities of money, what makes something sound money, what makes what happens with foreign currencies, and why Bitcoin is so important, what happens with the American dollar, why Bitcoin is so important. Um, all right. I'm going to say call in here. Just give me a moment. These are just and then I'm going to give you all the keys to the people that I listen to gain insight on Bitcoin throughout the years, right? I think some of the leading articulators and the people who explain the best, I'm going to let you know who they are. And once you do a deep dive on what they've got to say, you'll be caught up and you'll understand it. And then you'll understand why holding fiat currency is actually perilous and dangerous for your health and your family's financial health. Uh, call in here, putting it. Okay. And then I'm going to pin it for y'all. Give me a second. Pin message. Okay. That's there. And let's see what we can do on Facebook. All right. So on Facebook, they've got it there. Velocity of money. And I'd like this to be interactive. I don't want to just be speaking like I'm giving a lecture. I want to make this interesting for people. I think it's been interesting for people in the last couple of days from the comments that I've been getting. I think people were entertained yesterday when we talked about power, and we went through a lot of different things in terms of success and what success means and why winning is so important, not just for the sake of winning, but actually for mental health and the stability of one's character. So I'm going to put call in here. All right, I put that in there, and I don't think I can pin it. No, probably have to move this to like a page, like a Facebook page, actually, and then we can get into it. And there are some things that I want to play for people to listen to kind of understand what this is all about. So we're going to get started very soon. All right. So I am going to coin historical price. Now I'll tell you my story of El Salvador, and we will also listen to an interview from the president of El Salvador and why he decided to do what he did by making Bitcoin legal tender. It's very important, and those who actually understand this, understand what's going on, will be ahead of just about everybody. You'll be way ahead of the curve, and it'll be as if you are living in the future while other people are living in the past. And that is what investing is all about. Okay, so, all right. Let's look at this. Okay, and I have the Bitcoin price history chart. And let me pull up Nayib Bukele's speech. In the meantime, between time, we're gonna get into it, y'all. Give me a second. And this is all gonna be very, very important. So essentially, if you don't understand money, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. And those who understand money know what to do with money. When they make the money, they behave differently than people who don't understand money. So when people make money, the first thing that they're looking for, of course, you pay your expenses or what have you, but then what do you do with the leftover? The average person is taught to save the money. Well, when you save your money, the value of the money decreases over time. We all know that. As a matter of fact, the worst thing that you could do is if you were to leave people money over a period of time. So, for instance, $1,000 50 years ago was much more valuable than $1,000 now. $1,000 50 years ago probably could have bought you, something like a house. Let's call it 60, 70 years ago. Whereas $1,000 now can't even buy you a door for a house, right? So it lets you know that money over time decreases in value. Know that intuitively through shopping. Those who've bought groceries for the last 20 years know that there's something wrong going on with money. Now, the United States has a more stable currency than other countries. However, that is just a function of time where there's a decrease in the value of money over time. In developing countries, it's a faster decrease in the value of money. And I talked about some of that yesterday as well, as to how that type of a thing happens. So I don't want to get into like textbook definitions of money. This starts coming off as a lecture, but let me just tell you about my experience with Bitcoin. You all can hear me all right? Let me know if you can hear me all right. Just tap in and just text and just let me know if you can hear me all right. Okay, great. Big up Iman. I don't know who that is, but big up. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to share with you since 2020, and I have other charts that I could share, but 2020, everyone remembers 2020 being the pandemic, right? Now, I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2011 when I read the white paper on Bitcoin, and I have some links that I'm going to share with you all so everyone can get caught up to speed, okay? What I'm going to do right now is start the conversation by sharing a graph because images speak louder than words, all right? So we're going to start with this image since 2020. I want y'all to get ready for this because if you have these people who are like financial money managers and people who do mutual funds, and you go to the bank and you want to talk to like these people who are going to help you invest, what you're doing is you're actually losing money because up until now, a lot of these banks are completely behind the 8 ball in understanding money and investment. What do I mean by that? I'm going to share this screen with you all right now. Hopefully everyone can see this. Let me see. Make sure it's on screen. Okay, yeah. Everyone can see this? Okay, we're getting started. Whoever's here is here. It is 15 minutes after the hour, giving everyone a grace period, but I like to start on time. All right, so here we go. This is 2020. This is not even, since 2011. This is 2020. The price of till now, the price of Bitcoin. This is August 10th, 2020. Okay, everyone probably remembers that. That's when we were in deep lockdown. Everybody was in deep, deep lockdown because of the pandemic. Everybody remembers that. This is not ancient history, but everyone should remember that. And during that time was the time to put any money you had into Bitcoin, but you should have been starting earlier than that. But look what would have happened. Now, let's just say what these are, okay? Bitcoin, S&P 500. This is the 500 top companies in the stock market, the U.S. stock market. This is NASDAQ, which is tech stocks. Gold which everyone talks about. Oh, I need to buy gold. I need to buy gold, silver, and these are bonds. And these, what they mean by bonds is government bonds. So, government bonds typically is the safest place to put your money because typically government bonds pay you back, and they're supposed to be reliable, but they'll pay you back at a smaller percentage because it's supposed to be safe. The safest quote unquote investments, or the quote unquote safest investments, usually give you the lowest return, but it's something that'll give you a higher return than what the banks typically give you. So you buy what is called treasury bonds. The problem is that if you buy treasury bonds, you can get upside down based on inflation and based on interest rates. Okay. So from 2020 to 2024, this is from August 10th, 2020 to March 22nd, 2024. If you bought bonds and parked your money in bonds, which some wealthy people do, you'd have lost 19% in the last 4 years. If you put your money into silver, you'd have lost 13%. And let's just be clear on what these percentages are. So if you made 100% on your money, that means you'd have made 2x your money, double, or you'd have double the amount. So for instance, if you make 100% on $100, that means that you now have $200. 432% represents 5.3x. So for instance, if you put $10,000 into silver, you lost 13%. That means that out of that $10,000, you'd have lost more than $1,000. Because 10% of a 10,000 is 1,000. So it's more than that. So you'd have lost $1,300. Okay. Here you'd have lost close to 20%. So that means you'd have lost $2,000. Gold, you'd have made 7% in 4 years. NASDAQ investment, you'd have made 50%. So out of the $10,000, you would now have $15,000. You'd have made half that money. And this is pretty similar. But if you'd have had $10,000 into Bitcoin during the pandemic, you would now have $53,200. Does everybody see that? And this keeps happening with Bitcoin. Now you'll hear about the price dropping, but it's just a function of volatility over time. Anytime you have a relatively new instrument or a new thing, let's just say, that is going to grow in value, there's always turbulence, right? So, when you had the first airplanes will get you farther and faster than cars. However, airplanes weren't as safe as cars when airplanes first started out. So you had a lot of turbulence with airplanes as airplanes and people got more efficient. Now it's safer to take an airplane to a destination than it is to actually drive a car. Okay, so you're always going to expect volatility with something newer. However, the fundamentals of Bitcoin make it so that it is always going to be on the rise, whereas other investments and even just holding money, dollars, is always going to go down in value. And why is that? That is because governments control fiat currencies. And governments have the same playbook whenever they need money. And I'm going to play for you all something from Nayib Bukele. Who is Nayib Bukele? Nayib Bukele is the president of El Salvador, a very young man. And he made a speech recently on taxes. Now, remember, he's the leader of a government, and he made a speech about the real deal behind taxes. And so I'm going to play it. Okay. I want you to play this, and I'm going to talk about my time in El Salvador, because El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender a few years ago, and I got involved in Bitcoin over a decade ago. So when it was predicted there would be a nation state that makes Bitcoin legal tender. And I'll talk about why that was controversial, because people felt like Bitcoin can't be money because of volatility, and he's proven it wrong. And actually, they have made money in terms of value hand over fist by his bold approach. What I want to do is I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share this speech, just a few minutes of the speech for you all to understand what's happening with your money. And then we'll just go over a brief overview of how this thing works in terms of money and then how Bitcoin works. All right. So, okay, here we go. I hope you all can hear this. Let me know if you can hear this, like immediately. If you can't hear it, then wait, let me make sure that the sound is being shared. It is very important for you all to hear this. Share screen. Yes, also share audio. Yes. And we got it right here. All right. Now, this is what I'm showing you all is very important. Most of the people on this planet don't know about this and don't know what's going on. It's because the society that you live in is not teaching you anything to allow you to thrive. And those of you all who are tuned in, I mean, the topic says, I forget what it says, but I think the topic of today says Bitcoin, economics, and the velocity of money. It's not a sexy title per se, but those who are serious, it's a very sexy title. And we want to be able to get people to a point where we can attract people to interesting ideas and topics without having to use low-hanging fruit like celebrities or anything salacious or people arguing with each other, because that's what typically attracts human beings of all cultures, which distracts them from real power, right? And this is what I make this live stream about, to have focus on the things that are really important, the things that are actionable, instead of just, because I could be doing a live stream on celebrity gossip and have a whole lot of people watching, right? But that's not who I am, and I don't think it really serves humanity properly. Based on the things that I already know, I'd be basically hoarding information. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to freely share what I think is important with you all. So let me know if you can hear the sound.
For instance, the financial situation of the United States. When I talk to my conservative friends right here,
can you hear the sound?
They tell me the problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course,
I'm going to rewind that. I was speaking. You all might have missed it.
You're right. For instance, the financial situation of the United States. When I talk to my conservative friends right here, they always tell me the problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. You're right in that. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. Not even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds, paper. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed.
Federal Reserve.
And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print the limited amounts of money out of thin air, why did they collect taxes? I mean, in theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar would fall, and the Western civilization with it. If the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst.
Okay. I hope you all understood that. And he's basically letting you know the situation that you're in, and the US government is able to do this because of the fact that it has a strong military. But in time, you cannot just rule things with a strong military. What happens is that your population starts getting squeezed out. People start getting poorer. You have an imbalance, and you start losing the technology war because you can't really invest in technology and infrastructure the way that you need to invest when you start doing these types of tricks. And eventually the bubble bursts. So let's just talk about El Salvador real quick. And let's talk about money real quick. So, and then you'll understand what Bitcoin is and why Bitcoin is so important. So, I got involved in Bitcoin in 2011. And I got involved because I was very interested in the concept of money and what it was about. And there was a thing called the Bitcoin white paper. So these are resources that I'm going to share with you all. I would advise everybody to go to a website called satoshi.nakamotoinstitute.org. I'll show you exactly what that website is. Now, this talk that I'm giving y'all today is literally worth $1 million. Because if you understand the concepts of this, then you'll know what to do moving forward, because you will not be subject to monetary devaluation by doing certain things that just about everybody is doing, which is basically storing their money in a depreciating vehicle, right? If your grandmother lives to be 100 years old and she got a gift of $1,000, in 1920, and she just kept that $1,000 in the bank, that $1,000 in 1920 made her damn near a millionaire. However, in 2020, that $1,000 wouldn't be able to buy her anything, pretty much. So the job of your grandmother is to take the value of that $19,000 and put it in something that is going to grow at a faster pace of inflation. Inflation is basically the degradation of money through the increasing value of commodities. And the increasing value of commodities is not that the commodities have actually gotten more valuable per se, like the groceries that you used to buy. But it's just that the money has gotten less valuable. So you need more of it to buy item X. If you bought spaghetti, a year, 10 years ago, today it might be $1. 10 years ago, that same spaghetti might have been 10 cents. So that means that the value of the spaghetti has increased by 10x, but it's the same damn spaghetti. It just means that your money has decreased. And it is scientifically and mathematically predictable that spaghetti package will be more expensive 10 years from now for your children. That means if you know that scientifically and mathematically food is going to get more expensive, if you know right now today that a box of spaghetti for your grandchildren in 2050 will be more expensive than a box of spaghetti in 2020, you've already figured out that the value of money is getting worse, is actually depreciating. Now, the United States, because it has a strong economy, it depreciates slower than other countries. In other countries, it depreciates quite quickly. Those of us who come from Africa, those of us who come from the Caribbean, and those of us who come from South America, we know it, know it, know it. And this is how it happens. And I explained it yesterday. So, you are in a developing country that was formerly colonized by, let's say, the English, the French, or the Spanish. Those are the three main colonizers of the world. Well, you get your independence and you decide, I need to develop my country. The problem is that you don't have a tax base to develop your country because most of the development is going to be through imports. You don't have an infrastructure or even a manufacturing base that makes steel, so you have to import steel. You don't have cement factories, so you have to import cement. You don't have all of the necessities or the ingredients necessary to build your society to be competitive. So what do? You have to import. Well, when you import, you have to change your dollar, your currency for another currency so that you can buy, let's say, the same goods that you need to build your country. You have to buy them, finished goods or steel or lumber or all of these types of things that you need that are industrially processed. You're going to get them from your former colonizing country. And that country is going to give you loans to build your highways, let's say. And they have these institutions set up to give loans. And these institutions are called, the two big institutions is the IMF and the World Bank. So the IMF is run by the United States and its private bankers, and the World Bank is run by the European Union. And so the playbook for the presidents of these countries, whether it be Haiti, Jamaica, Ghana, wherever, is to get a loan from the IMF. Okay. Because you want to develop your country. In many of these countries, the leaders of the country take the loans and don't develop the country. They will take the loans and they will keep it for themselves in a Swiss bank account. We saw this with Mobutu Sese Seko. We see this with all underachieving leaders around the world. It's a playbook that they use. So the country never gets developed, but your country gets saddled in debt. Well, guess what happens? Because no loans are free, they all come with interest rates. You've got bad credit, you can't even pay the interest on it, and you try to get more loans to pay off the loans in the first place. So with these loans come certain terms. One of the terms that comes with these loans to build highways to build roads, infrastructure, electrical grid, sewer systems, water treatment systems, um, to have a modern society, to be able to take hospitals, schools, those things that we all like and love. Um, it takes money to do these things. And if you decide that you are going to take these loans, one of the conditions is that the IMF tells you that you must devalue your currency. Why do they want you to devalue your currency? Well, there's a reason why they want you to devalue your currency. There's a few reasons, and let's break down the numbers. Well, you devalue your currency because one of the reasons is that they want to make exports cheaper, or they want to make the exports from their home countries, which is the United States, cheaper for businessmen, and it becomes more expensive for you in that developing country. Let me give you an example. Jamaica. And we all seen this in Jamaica because I was in Jamaica some years, let's say a decade ago, I was in Jamaica. It was one US dollar to about 70. Now it's one US dollar to over 100. I don't even know what the number is today. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 120, right? 120 Jamaican dollars make one US dollar, let's just say. And I could go on Google and look it up, but I know it's probably over 100. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you're in Jamaica and it's one Jamaican dollar to one US dollar. The numbers used to be like that in the 60s. It used to be close. But let's just say it's 1-to-1. We're just saying hypothetical. And I borrow $100 million from the IMF to do infrastructure projects in the to do infrastructure projects in Jamaica or Ghana or Nigeria or wherever. It doesn't matter. The playbook is the same. Well, they tell me that I have to devalue my currency. So now overnight, it's 2-to-1. Okay, what does this mean? This is what is called time theft or slavery, or time-based slavery by the devaluation of a currency. Heru, that sounds like really harsh to call that slavery. I mean, you're borrowing money. Of course, there's going to be terms, but why is that slavery for a population? Okay. It's slavery because before the loan was taken, it was 1-to-1. My country doesn't manufacture any cars. You're going to need cars in the country to start efficiency of moving goods and services. And the private people want cars, and so they want to buy. So I'm a citizen of Jamaica, and I want to buy a car. And the car costs me $30,000 Jamaican dollars because it's $30,000 US and it's 1-to-1. So I'm going to save up, and I look at my salary, and I know that based on my salary, I'm going to have to save money for 1 year to buy a $30,000 car from the United States because it's 1-to-1. But guess what? The moment that they change the currency valuation from 2-to-1, I now have to work 2 years to buy that same item that I was going to buy yesterday. So what you've done effectively is I have to work twice as long to buy the same thing because my wages haven't changed. That is what you call slavery and time theft, because now my labor has to increase over time for a longer amount of time, and I have to commit more labor hours to buy the exact same thing. Nothing's changed except for the governmental policy of my government in Jamaica or Nigeria taking a loan from the IMF. Why do they do that? They do that because if they're going to give you a loan, they want an advantage for their industrialists in America, because as it becomes more expensive for me, it becomes cheaper for them. So what happens is that they're able to move exports even better, and they're getting more because that's why they say the dollar stretches farther in poor countries. That's because of this devaluation, right? So I can come into your country and buy more things with the US dollar because it has now been devalued. That same thing I wanted to buy in your country, like your real estate, your property. Remember, it was $30,000 to buy an acre, let's say, or 10 acres of land because it was 1-to-1. Now it's 2-to-1. It effectively now costs me 15,000 US to buy land in your country overnight when it used to be 30,000. So it's the advantage of the people coming from the outside to buy up your country and the things in your country and the goods in your country, while it's become more expensive for your citizens to buy goods from the outside. This is why they do that. The other reason why they do that is this. And this is one of the main reasons, and this is theft also. If I loan you $100 million, and yesterday, for you to pay me back $100 million, it required you to pay me back with 100 million Jamaican dollars. If I make it 2-to-1 the next day, guess how much you're paying me back? You're paying me back 200 million Jamaican dollars as opposed to 100 million, because we've changed it to 2-to-1. So now you've got to pay me back more of your money to satisfy the same debt. This is actually advanced loan sharking. So not only do I have to pay the interest, I'm actually paying you the amount of money because of the monetary policy. This is what happens over and over and over and over with developing countries, and that's why they're never ever able to catch up, particularly because when you have bad leadership who has too much glucose in their brains, they don't understand this play. Even though they have PhDs in economics, they understand, they're supposed to understand these things, but they keep going along with this play. Not Nayib Bukele. So what did Nayib Bukele do? And I have video of him talking about what he did and why they made Bitcoin legal tender. So what is the history of money? Let me just, I don't want to move too quick. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? Is it clear what I'm explaining? If you got any questions, go in the chat, ask the questions. Does everyone understand what I just kind of laid out? Go ahead and just, put in yeah, whatever, or I didn't get this point or that point. Let me know. The history of El Salvador's money is they had their own currency. I believe it was called, hold on, let me find out the name of their currency. Okay, good. You all are following. The name of their currency, El Salvador, is either called the Leon currency. So the history of their currency, oh no, it's called the Colon. It was called the Colon. Okay, good. I want to make sure I had it right. So it's called the Colon. So they had the Colon, and they recognized that they cannot maintain their local currency in the international market because of devaluation. It's a poor country. You're going to have to get loans, and you're subject to these types of shenanigans from the IMF and what have you. So what did they decide to do? They decided to adopt the US dollar as their main settling currency in the country. So when you would go to El Salvador, you get paid in US dollars. You could pay for food in US dollars. People don't use the colon. They use the US dollar there. Why did they use the US dollar? Because they know that if we use the US dollar and we take loans in US dollars, they can't devalue our currency, right? So we're not subject to this 2-to-1, 8-to-1 type thing. And we're trying to save our people from time slavery. So we just have to worry about the interest. Very good move, right? And this is very much akin to anybody. And I'm sure I got some folks from the Caribbean and folks from Africa. If you have a business in Africa, it is actually your fiduciary duty, or business in Haiti or business in Jamaica, it is your fiduciary duty to have what is known as a US dollar bank account. Why? Because you know that the money that you store in your local currency is subject to devaluation at any time, which means that you can lose your money and the value of your money. It happened in Zimbabwe, where overnight you need $1 million Zimbabwe dollars to buy a loaf of bread. It happens overnight. It happened in Argentina. It happened in Greece. So it's not just black countries. It happens all over the world. So what you do is the middle class and the wealthy, what they do is that they like to have US dollar bank accounts. So when you go to Ghana, when you open an account, they ask you, do you want a CD bank account? The CD is the currency in Ghana. Or do you want a US dollar bank account? And anyone who is financially responsible will say, please give me a US dollar bank account, because I don't want, and this happened to me. I'll give you an example. I have a construction company in Ghana. I had, let's just give you a number. So let's just say I had 10,000 CDs. And at that time in Ghana, this was during the pandemic, 2020. So I had 10,000 CDs in a Ghana bank account. And I left it there. So 10,000 divided by 6 comes out to about, let's just call it $1,500 US. I kept it in that account and I was going to move it and do some things with it. But the pandemic happened. So I left the country because they were closing down the airports, right? So I went back to the States. So guess what happened? Everything was closed down. Travel was closed down. They were talking about you got to have a vaccine to get in and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, by the time they open up the airports and travel again, the value of the CD went from 6 CDs to $1 to 12 CDs to $1. What does that mean? That means that my 10,000 CDs is now divided by 12. So the value has gone from $1,500 to $750 within 2 years. So basically, I lost 50% of the value of my money by just keeping it in CDs. And this is what's happening to people over time, keeping their money in their local currency. So everyone's looking to transfer to US dollars. US dollars are big commodity in developing countries. And the wealthy are the ones who want to transfer over their money to US dollars. And if you're running a business, forget about patriotism. If you're running a business and you've got to buy supplies from overseas and you've got to do this and you've got to pay people, you don't want to keep your money in the local currency. You want to keep it in US dollars because it's a more stable currency. The problem is that even the US dollars aren't stable because you will lose value over time. It's just a slower loss of value over time. Is everyone following me? So here comes a thing called Bitcoin. Bitcoin is developed because what they know is these people who run central banks cannot help but print money. Whenever they are in any type of financial trouble, they just print more money. The bank is failing because of bank fraud. Oh, just print more money and save the bank. That's what they call too big to fail. Everyone was around during that time. Too big to fail. That means that if this particular institution fails, it's going to send ripple effects through the whole government. So we've got to pay for this through taxpayer money, quote unquote, but they're just printing money. And what it does, it creates a thing called moral hazard. What is moral hazard? Moral hazard is you can run a business like a bank, insurance company, and not do it properly, but know that you're getting private money from your customers, but the government will bail you out with public money. So what it is that it is a way of privatizing profits and socializing losses. So the public is on hook for the losses, but the public does not get to share in the profits. Okay? But guess what happens? It's moral hazard. So they are never incentivized not to do it again, not to give bad loans, not to give fraudulent loans. And the thing is the way the banking system is set up, it's such that they don't even hold all of your money. It's through fractional reserve banking. So they only have to hold a fraction of the money that's actually been deposited. So like me, you, and 1,000 other people, we deposit $1,000 in the bank each. The bank should have $1 million. Well, they loan out all that money because they're looking to make a return on it, and they're only required to keep something like 10% of that money. There was $100,000. This is why they hate a thing called a run on a bank. So if all 1,000 of us decided we want our $1,000, guess what's going to happen? The banks are going to close, and they're going to tell us they're going to tell you we're not open today, or they will have a withdrawal limit for your own money. This happened in Greece. This happened in Lebanon. This happened in Nigeria recently. There was a limit on how much money you could take out because they're all engaged in this type of behavior. This is what central banks are doing because it's a fraud. Here comes Bitcoin. And what Bitcoin is saying is that this is a programmed money supply where the government and the wealthy cannot just press a button and print more money. Because what happens is that as you print more money, the value of the money goes down. I'll give you, and it's just supply and demand, right? I'll give you an example for you all to understand basic economics, why we're talking about economics. The less of a desired thing that's available, that thing, X, call it X, becomes more valuable. Let me put it in real life terms. In 2017, in the Virgin Islands, we suffered 2 Category 5 hurricanes within 2 weeks. It damaged everything. It damaged the infrastructure. People didn't have basic things because grocery stores were closed down. Workers couldn't go to grocery stores. And everyone was clamoring for clean water. It wasn't as bad in the Virgin Islands because we at least have cisterns there, right? But the cisterns are not purified water because you'd have to have it run through pumps and then filter systems. The problem is that there was no electricity on the island. So if you did want water, you could maybe grab some water from a bucket from your cistern. That water would not be water that you could actually drink because you couldn't run it through a filter system. All right. So you go to the grocery store, and guess what some of the grocery stores were doing? They were doing price gouging on water because there was a shortage of water on the island. Water now was not ubiquitous. It was not all over the place. And then you start what is called a bidding war for price. And this is how price of an item increases because people will sell an item for whatever they can sell it for. So now, since everyone's thirsty, a bottle of water is $1. Some people, particularly those who had the money, will pay $10 for that bottle of water. As a matter of fact, hey, grocery store, I'll give you $1,000 for 4 cases of water that used to cost $10 because I can afford it. Now my family has water, and guess what the grocery store owner is inclined to do? Take that $1,000. So they actually had to pass laws in the Virgin Islands for stores not to price gouge, because that is the natural inclination where there's a shortage of a desired item. In the converse, if there's a flooding of the market of a desired item, the value of that item goes down. Example, Mansa Musa. They say Mansa Musa was the richest man on earth, and he was from the Mali region, or like today's Mali, the head of an empire, and he was Muslim, and so he decided to do his Hajj to Mecca, and he traveled all of West Africa into Central Africa into Mecca, and as he did it, he gave away gold. But because he gave away gold in different markets, he actually crashed the price of gold. So during that time, gold was crashed because he made gold so common. Look it up. So whenever governments print more money, like what they did with the stimulus packages. Now, when they printed when I found out that they were going to print money and give everyone a check for $600 or $1,200, I was so happy. And I wasn't happy because I was going to get a check for $600 and $1,200. I knew the price of Bitcoin would go up. Because every time they print more money, the value of money goes down and the value of Bitcoin goes up, because Bitcoin is a scarce commodity. What are we discussing tonight, Jason Thigpen? We are discussing money, Bitcoin, and the velocity of money. So what makes Bitcoin different is that Bitcoin is a fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoin that gets printed over time or mined over time. And how does Bitcoin work? Bitcoin is an electronic payment system. It is a store of value, and it is a unit of account. Those are the 3 aspects of money. Money has to be, one, a unit of exchange, store of value. And so what do we mean by able to be exchanged? Well, instead of bartering, let's say a goat for you could just buy that goat with the money. So you exchange the money for the goat. It becomes more efficient so that you don't have to store goats and cows all over the place to be able to do transactions. That's what money is. It's a unit of account so it's a means of exchange, a store of value, and a unit of account. Those are the 3 qualities of money, or the 3 the utility aspects of money. Store of value, that means that I can keep that money and use it for tomorrow or next year. So I can store it and it will still be able to be used for some type of value. The 3rd aspect is unit of account. It lets me know that it costs $2 to buy a pound of apples, but it costs $4 to buy a pound of mangoes. It lets me know that mangoes are more valuable than apples. And rightfully so, because mangoes are better than apples. Bitcoin does all of that, but it does it better. What do I mean? If you're going to use something for an exchange, you'd like to be able to use it all over the world. You'd like to be able to travel with it. Right now, if you try to travel with $10,000 cash or more, you have to claim it at the airport. Or you could try to move $10,000 worth of gold bars and see how that goes for you. There's security implications as well, but you can keep Bitcoin on your phone or on or even in your mind, the private keys. And that could be $1 million worth. Also, the fact that it is something that can be exchanged for goods is very important, because I'll give you an example. People who live abroad who send money back home, right? You're transmitting the money from one country to another country. Well, if you do it and you wire it through a bank can actually stop your wire transfer because they think it's too much money, or you got to go there and actually talk to them, sign papers if it's a certain amount of money. But I literally can transfer $1 billion worth of Bitcoin from New York to Nigeria with no permission. And it gets there within 15 minutes. Bank transfer could take a day or two internationally to get there. But the bank can decide, we're not going to do the transfer. So you have a third party who's interfering with your freedom. Well, maybe you don't have to use a bank. You can use MoneyGram. Well, I was building a house in an island called Dominica, and I had my contractor that I was sending money to MoneyGram. And guess what happened? MoneyGram said, Mr. Ofori-Atta, we can't do business with you anymore. So why? So you're sending too much money. We don't know if you're money laundering. So till this day, and this was in 2014, till this day, your boy can't send any money through MoneyGram. They won't do business with me. Not so with Bitcoin. And as a matter of fact, I got some people who work on my website, herbalresults.net. Just wanted to throw that plug in. That's the sponsor. He's in Nigeria right now, and he takes payment in Bitcoin. So I don't have to do MoneyGram. I don't have to do a wire transfer where they charge me fees. I can actually transfer value for very little money. And now they have the Lightning Network, and it's actually no money at all. And I can tell you about my experience in El Salvador. So it works better. And then store of value is the second aspect. Well, it's a better store of value. As I just showed you, that if you stored your value in Bitcoin in 2020, you would have made 5.3 times the value of that money that you stored, as opposed to storing it in US dollars, where things are more expensive now. Let me give you an example. I bought a house in West Palm Beach, Florida, in 2019. It is now 5 years, and the value of my house has doubled. That's not because this house has gotten better. And what I mean by doubled is that's not even taking into account the mango orchard, which has another value unto itself. But just the house itself has doubled the price of the house. So if I was to sell my house today, I would make 100% profit on what I paid for the house by just sleeping here. And the reason is not because the house is more valuable, it's because the money is less valuable. So the money has lost its value by about 50%. That's what that tells me. And look at the price of eggs compared to the price of eggs in 2019. Look at the price of basic goods at the store. They've doubled. Now, if they've doubled, it's not that eggs are more valuable, it's that your money has become less valuable. Which means that if you stored your money from 2019 on, you can buy half the amount of things that you could buy today that you could buy in 2019. But if you stored that money in Bitcoin, you can actually buy 5 times more the same things, because you had a 5 times increase in the value of your Bitcoin. This is real. So what does that mean for people who are working 9 to 5s and people who are saving money and you're looking to put your money into places that grow or whatever? You definitely can't leave that money in the bank as a savings account. You're losing value. Bitcoin is a better store of value. And the people who don't realize this are going to be left behind. And this is why I'm trying to tell our people, particularly people of African descent, we're usually last to the party. This is why since 2011, I've been posting on Facebook and anywhere I could, hey, y'all need to look at Bitcoin. I bought Bitcoin. I was buying Bitcoin when the hurricane happened. Everything had shut down. I had to stand on a mountain and point my phone towards a tower. That was the only phone tower working on the island. And I had to point my phone, and I basically got like internet speed of like when we were in 1993, because everything was shut down. But it just turned out that the internet worked if you pointed your phone toward this cell tower on top of this mountain. So I would go on top of the mountain and point it there. And I was buying Bitcoin in 2017, the day after the hurricane, because I understood what was happening. And anytime I see a Bitcoin price drop, that's the time to put in a few dollars into Bitcoin, because what you're doing is you are exponentially growing your investments and your wealth. People say, oh, but it crashes. Yeah, it'll crash, but it has a hell of a bounce back. A hell of a bounce back. Well, right now, Bitcoin is over $70,000. It has broken its last high. And I will tell you what happens when Bitcoin breaks its high. Let me give you some historicals. So the second to last high was $20,000. Some of you all remember when everyone started talking about Bitcoin when it hit $20,000, and then it crashed back down to $5,000. And then it came back to 69,000. Then it crashed back down to 13,000. Now it's broken its last high. And let me show you what happens to Bitcoin when it breaks its previous high. Y'all will be interested to see this. Okay. When Bitcoin breaks its high historically, let's share this. And I'll explain to you what this actually means. Bitcoin. All right, here we go. When Bitcoin breaks its previous highs, everyone can see this. Okay, this is how long it takes for it to double past the high. What do we mean by that? That means that if the last high was $20,000, which it was in, I believe, 2013, it took 10 days for it to reach $40,000. Okay, I don't know if that's 2013. I can't remember the dates. But in 2020, when it broke its last high, it took, okay, I think the last high was $20,000 in 2020. And then it went from 20,000 to 40,000 in 18 days. And if you look at these, basically after it breaks its previous high, these are the days that it takes to double in price. What does that mean? The last high of Bitcoin was $69,000. It has broken that high. If you take an average of these, it's between 18 and 84 days. 84 days is as long as it's between 10 and 84 days. So 84 days is as long as it's taken for it to double. 84 days is about 3 months. Bitcoin broke 69,000 about 30 days ago. That means that we can expect, based on historicals, for Bitcoin to hit $140,000 within, at the most, the next 2 months, because it's already been a month. That's what that means. You're looking at $140,000 price in Bitcoin. If it keeps up with the historicals within the next 60 days. So right now it is April 11th. Come talk to me in June. Come talk to me in June. That's what that means. And what's happening is that there's a thing called game theory, y'all. What is game theory? Game theory is the mathematical predictability of events happening based on a confluence of events. So you can look at the game theory of Bitcoin, and there's a saying that at first they ridicule people who come up with like great ideas. At first they ridicule you, then they get angry at you, and then they join you, right? This happened with Galileo when he says that the earth revolves around the sun and not the other way around. They ridicule you, they get angry at you, want to kill you, and then science then joins you. And then that becomes the new thing of the day. That's actually the method of how things work. You get ridiculed at first, and everyone will see, you buying Bitcoin, ha, 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 people laughing at you. There's some people here who know and were around when they were investing in Bitcoin talking about it, and people were laughing. And then when you were talking about it and the price was going up, you were doing well, people were getting angry at you because you were winning. And then as the price keeps going up to 70 to 100,000, those same people call you and say, how do I buy Bitcoin? This is exactly how it goes. The same people who ridicule you now want to join. And so what's happening is that these major institutions were ridiculing Bitcoin. Now they all have ETFs, and they're pouring trillions of dollars into it as investment vehicles for pension funds and investment vehicles, because they're looking at it and they're saying, man, we're investing in all of these other things that's not giving us nearly the return that people who are investing in Bitcoin are investing in. And let me tell you the secret, the big thing that's happening now. And I have a friend who did this because we went over the numbers. I have a friend who in 2020, big up Darnley, that's his name, big up Darnley. He called me, we're talking about Bitcoin. He tells me he's got an investment property in Maryland. We start running the numbers down. Okay, you brought this property. How much money are you making a month from it? Well, like $100 a month after everything is paid off, my mortgage and this and that. But I'm holding on to because I'm waiting for it to, looking forward to appreciate and value and all of that. So okay, well let's look at this. I started running numbers down with him, and I'm saying it actually would be better if you sell that house and put all that money into Bitcoin. One of the reasons is if you buy Bitcoin, you ain't got to worry about tenants telling you the toilet ain't flushing. You feel me? You ain't got to worry about people ruining your house. You ain't got to worry about repainting the house. You don't have to worry about property taxes. You don't have to worry about a tenant not paying you rent. You don't have to worry about not being able to rent the place when that tenant moves out. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about all these things. So actually, people who are real estate investors are now liquidating their real estate to buy Bitcoin because they've seen it. Bitcoin has proven itself. It's over a decade old and it's still here. And it's at $70,000. And they're all kicking themselves in the ass as to why they didn't buy Bitcoin earlier. Because I can give you the historical price of Bitcoin over time. And let's look at it. I'm going to share this with y'all. Now I'll let you know exactly when I got my feet into Bitcoin. Like I said, I did a 2-week deep dive into Bitcoin in 2011, and I bought my first Bitcoin in 2011. So this is from 2010 to 2024. Right now, they've got Bitcoin at $70,000 and $70,450 right now. Okay, when I got into Bitcoin in 2011, I got Bitcoin for $5.56. Do you understand me? Y'all feel me? It was $5.56 when I was buying Bitcoin in 2011, and then it went on and went on. $95, $600 in 2014. And then the price, you see, you'll say it crashes and then the price goes up. 2018, it hits 14,000. Everyone's like, wow. But when people really started paying attention, I'll never forget, is when it hit 20,000. That's when I was getting phone calls. How can I get Bitcoin, man? How can I get Bitcoin? How can I? That's when the whole world was interested in Bitcoin. And then it dropped. But if you look at this from a bird's eye view, look at the slope of Bitcoin. It is an upward trajectory that's not stopping. Why is that? Because it gets more and more scarce over time, while money gets more and more printed over time. And it ain't going to stop, because that's the only game that governments have. Now they're moving into what you call central bank digital currencies. Central bank digital currencies is going to change the game completely, because they no longer have to work to like rely on a money printing machine. They could just add a zero digitally, which is going to make the money supply expand even more, which is going to take the price of Bitcoin from $70,000 to $700,000. So all I'm saying is keep printing the money. Keep printing money. You see, if there wasn't Bitcoin, I'd be very, 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 very scared about them printing money. But I know how they get down. They're going to keep printing money, and I'm going to keep taking their money and buying Bitcoin and buying assets that appreciate over time. And this is what everyone should be doing, from the individual to governments. And the governments that decided to do it, there are governments quietly buying Bitcoin right now. And they've been buying Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you. So who are the people that you should check before we start opening this up for conversation? Because there's more that I could play, but I know people want to get in and talk and ask questions. I have an interview with Nayib Bukele when he was talking about the government of El Salvador buying Bitcoin. He explained everything very well. We might get into that, but I want to give time for people to kind of chime in. Those who are on YouTube, the link is there for you. I think I put the link on Facebook as well, and for people on Twitter. But the easiest thing to do is go to YouTube, and you'll see the link if you want to come in on StreamYard and talk, because this is a very important conversation to have. And your great grandchildren will wonder what you were doing in 2024 when Bitcoin was 70,000, because by that time Bitcoin may be 7 million. And this is real because it's already been projected. Some of the great projectors is a woman named Kathy Wood out of ARK Invest. She's already made a price prediction for Bitcoin to hit $1 million within the next 5 years. So the people that you need to follow. Oh, and let me give you a cheat code. Facebook is not the place for intelligent conversation. Facebook is not the place you're going to go to follow people who know what they're talking about. Facebook is really old friends. People talk about mainstream things mainly, complain about celebrities, talk about this, that. They post things. So what you got to do is you got to go to Twitter. You're going to go to Twitter, and in Twitter, you follow people who are experts and successful in the fields of care. So on Twitter, I follow scientists. These aren't my high school buddies who didn't graduate from college. I follow scientists, astrophysicists. I follow people in finance. I follow people in business, and they all post their thoughts. So I get a jump on everything that's happening in the world that is important. So the people that you want to follow when it comes to Bitcoin is a guy named Michael Saylor. Okay, I'll show you. This is who you want to follow. I think you all can see this. Let me share. So I'm going to share some people, and then you can do your own due diligence. I'm going to share with you people who I follow if you want to know more about Bitcoin, because this is how I learn what I learn. Like, there's nothing mystical about learning this information, but there are people who are leading lights in this thing, and they explain things very simply, and you need to follow them and watch all of their videos. Michael Saylor, number one. That's who you need to follow. And I can tell you what he's been doing. This is his page, Michael Saylor. Okay. He started reading about Bitcoin maybe 5 years ago. He owns a company called MicroStrategy. Is publicly traded on the stock market. He's already a billionaire, and when he found out about Bitcoin, he went all in on Bitcoin, where he's basically selling the stock of his company and debt to buy Bitcoin. And he owns, and his company owned like 200,000 Bitcoin at this point. He's been going hard, and he's one of the great articulators about Bitcoin. That's who you need to follow. This guy here, Michael Saylor. The other person you need to follow to learn all about Bitcoin is a guy named Jack Mallers, Mallers, Mallers. This guy. You need to follow him. He's a young guy. He's a software engineer, and he's even made some innovations using the Bitcoin platform with Lightning. And he has a app where you can buy Bitcoin for no fees called Strike. But his articulations are on point. He can explain things in a very simple way. Those two people, if you follow, and then, Kathy Wood is somebody to follow from ARK Invest. It might be with a K. Yeah, no, it's D. This is who you want to follow. And if you follow these three people, you'll understand Bitcoin, you'll understand financial markets, you'll understand economics better than all of your peers. Facebook is not the place where you're going to get information that's going to be next level conversation, because most people on Facebook are not accomplished people. They are just friends through friends, and it's just a circle of friends. And what you want to do is you want to expand your circle to people who are accomplished, so that you are privy to the aroma of winning instead of the odor of losing. Okay? We talked about that yesterday. Okay? There's a difference between aroma and odor. They both have smells. Losing has an odor. Winning has an aroma. They're not the same thing. That's why they have a thing called aromatherapy and not odor therapy. You understand? So these are some of the people you want to follow. And there's another guy, Andrew Pompliano, or they just call him Pomp. He has a podcast. Pompiano. Let me see. Pomp Bitcoin. He has a podcast on YouTube. You need to check his stuff out. Pomp Bitcoin. Make sure I get his name right. This guy right here. Pomp. Okay? These are people who are all early in Bitcoin and they've made great amount of money. Okay? A Pompliano. Okay, there's another guy, a Greek guy. I forget his name, but but just with Saylor and Jack Mallers, and if we have time, I'll play some videos of Saylor and Jack Mallers explaining things to you. Okay, so you have now been given the keys to understand this on a higher level, more than just me talking about it. But when I run through the numbers, you're going to be able to see. You're talking about Chamath. That's who you're talking about. Palapatia. Chamath. That's who you're talking about, Lowell. So at this point, I want to make this conversational because I've been talking for over an hour now. It's been an hour and a half that I've been talking about this. And so we're going to make a conversation with people to ask questions. There's a lot more that I could get into. I didn't want to get into the history of money, but what is interesting too is that because Bitcoin can be transmitted so fast, we're dealing with the velocity of money. Why is the velocity of money important? The velocity of money is everything for an economy. The slower that money moves. So imagine you have a business. If your business accumulates $1 million, right? Do you want that $1 million accumulated in one day, or do you want to accumulate it in 1 year? No, you want to accumulate it in 1 day. That would tell you that you're doing a great amount of business because of the velocity of the money that you're actually getting into your account. So just for an individual, it is also the same for groups, communities, and nations. So anything that disrupts the velocity of money or slows down the velocity of money, which is third parties like banks and governments and their regulations, and then want to check up on you and approve whether this transaction works or not, and blah, 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 blah. And even when you want to withdraw your money, they want to make you fill out forms and paper and even approve withdrawals or not withdrawals or wire transfers and what have you. That is actually slowing down the velocity of money. So Bitcoin becomes superior for the growth of an economy because it increases the velocity of money. Anything that slows down the movement of money slows down the growth of an economy and slows down the wealth of a people. This is why the velocity of money is very important in a society. If you can't move money around quickly and easily at a cheap price, that society is going to be in poverty. This is why Bitcoin is so important. It solves the problem. That's why, like in African countries, they started innovating mobile payments. The only problem with mobile payments is the mobile payments is based on a local fiat currency, which is devalued over time. So now if you're using mobile payments through the internet with Bitcoin, not only are you moving money at a fast pace for a cheap amount of fees, you're actually storing value that is increasing over time. And we're gonna bring in Sister Kai, so we could talk about, because I know she trains people in understanding Bitcoin, right? And she's doing great work because y'all can't pay her enough. Because I just showed you all like the price movement of Bitcoin, and just someone showing you how to onboard into Bitcoin and understanding what it's about has made you generational money, because now you're engaged in something that's not losing you value, something that's gaining you value over time. So that person needs to be very well compensated for actually putting you on to game. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll give you an example. So El Salvador decides to make Bitcoin legal tender. I believe 30 days after I got the news, I booked a ticket to El Salvador. I believe it was 30 days. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I talked about this yesterday, we can stop sharing that page. And this was about 2-3 years ago. This was not long ago, by the way. So what a lot of people don't know is that a ticket to El Salvador, first of all, flight to El Salvador from Miami is about a 2 hours and 15-minute flight. The other thing is that the round trip ticket costs $230. Right? And I got there and I spent 2 weeks there. And when you get there, you have to pay, like a traveler's fee to enter the country. You can pay in Bitcoin. Then you get to the hotel, you can pay for your hotel in Bitcoin. You take a cab, you pay for your cab in Bitcoin. And I'm with the taxi driver, and I asked the taxi driver, do you want me to pay in Bitcoin or cash? He said, cash, pay me in Bitcoin. I said, why do you want to get paid in Bitcoin? He said, because I know that the price of Bitcoin goes up over time. And because of Bitcoin's introduction to the country, I don't even go out drinking anymore. After I would make my money, I would go out to bars and drink. Now I don't drink because I'm getting paid in Bitcoin. And I know that if I save that money instead of spending it on alcohol, my family is going to get rich over time. And he's right, because the money he saved when I went to Bitcoin has gone up ×4. So every dollar that he saved, he's made 4 times that value by just holding it in Bitcoin. And what Nayib Bukele has done is he has given his people an opportunity to become a wealthy nation. And the projections are based on the price of Bitcoin, because people are getting paid in Bitcoin. I bought my food in Bitcoin. There's a place called Bitcoin Beach. I went straight there. I spent a day or two in San Salvador just to see what the energy was. And then I went straight to Bitcoin Beach, learn how to surf. You know what I'm saying? Paid for surfing lessons in Bitcoin. I bought food in Bitcoin. I did everything in Bitcoin. You understand what I'm saying? Even a ganja man took Bitcoin. You understand what I'm saying? This is what you call a robust economy. And yo, check this out. On my phone, I could have had $1 million worth of Bitcoin, but I'm going right through customs and nobody's asking me nothing. You understand? So look, get with the times, y'all. Stop being dinosaurs. Stop doing what everybody else is doing, because everybody else ain't doing well because they're doing what everybody else is doing. You got to be ahead of the curve. And truth, Bitcoin is early, but you really should have been on top of this a decade ago. I've been telling y'all about this a decade ago. I'm not saying listen to me, but listen to logic. You know these people going to keep printing money. You know they're going to keep printing money. They keep printing money. Every time they keep printing money, the price of Bitcoin is going to go up. You need to be in position for that to happen, and not to be in a position to be hurt by these people's activities. You understand? And don't think that whatever political party you're part of in the United States, any of them are going to save you. You understand what I'm saying? I don't get involved in American electoral politics because regardless of who is president, I've set my family up to be good. You understand what I'm saying? Biden ain't gonna save you. Trump ain't gonna save you. This is much deeper than them. This is about a monetary policy that they've been doing for, ever since they got off the gold standard in 1970. Everything has just been paper money out of thin air. And the emperor truly wears no clothes. And what you've got to do is you've got to position yourself to benefit off of every single playbook that these people have. And it just turns out that they run the same plays every time. They run the same plays every time. But the problem is the people who don't understand the plays, they keep scoring on you. And it's time for us to score, to understand these things, and to spend a little bit of time listening to people who've already won. And that's why I showed you Twitter is where you need to be at. Because in Twitter, you get to choose who you follow. Someone friends you on Facebook, all of a sudden now, their pancakes on Sunday is in your feed. You understand what I'm saying? Their selfies is in your feed. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm watching people with metabolic disorder like take selfies like they're cute. Like this is not like you know what I'm saying? No, I'd rather be on Twitter and I'd rather listen to what Elon Musk is saying about what's happening with the with new products in Tesla. So I know that Tesla stock is about to go up. Or I mean, these people are reporting what's happening directly on Twitter. All of these billionaires, all these people, they share their thoughts and you get their thought. This is better than having the Wall Street Journal. This is what all business people used to read, the Wall Street Journal. It's antiquated. Go on Twitter, follow scientists, follow engineers, follow thought leaders, and what you're going to have is you're going to have a jump on the rest of the population. So I already know what's happening. Like, so for instance, there's sites that I follow on Twitter. There's a Bitcoin page I follow on Twitter. They let me know whenever there's been like $1 billion purchase of Bitcoin. What does that mean? I know that the price of Bitcoin is about to go up. I trade Forex, so I just wait. Because I know that if someone pumped $1 billion into Bitcoin, the price is about to go up. I'm getting early intelligence. Not like I'm smarter than anybody. I'm just gaming the system. And I'm telling y'all right now, you can learn anything that you want to learn in this world on YouTube, from computer programming to financing and investing in Bitcoin and construction and even planting a mango orchard properly. You can learn that on YouTube. And then you get early information from the people who are moving and shaking in this world on Twitter. Facebook is just to keep up with your friends and just have a little light banter. It's not anywhere you're going to start talking about Keynesian economics. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't going to do that on Facebook. Nobody's going to respond. Nobody's going to care except for a few people, because these people are just like friends that you've accumulated over time with different interests, and doesn't mean that they've actually accomplished anything or even have any interest in accomplishing much beyond celebrity gossip. And that's what you see, yo. You know what I'm saying? One of the most one of the most participated posts I ever posted on Facebook was I didn't know black folks love Betty White so much when she died. And I had like hundreds of people. Oh, Betty White was here. It's like, damn, that's what y'all excited about. I've been posting about Bitcoin for the last decade. Got the nerve to ask me for money. Asking me if they could hold something. I've been telling you to put your money in Bitcoin for over a decade. Put in some money. And you want to ask me for a loan when Bitcoin hits 20,000. Ask me to borrow money so you can buy Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Yo, this shit is comedy. But anyway, we got our good sister. She's on. She's waiting. This is my first time talking to her. Talking, but we've been Facebook friends, and I know this is a serious sister. She's serious about that money. She's serious about development. She's serious about investing. She's into Bitcoin, and I've sent people ask me, yo, Heru, can you teach me how to buy Bitcoin or train me in Bitcoin? I said, go straight to Kai. You understand what I'm saying? I've done that. So we got the sister on. What up?
Hey.
What's happening?
Oh, nice to talk to you for the first time.
Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you as well.
I know all the messages we've exchanged. Yes, thanks for having me on. I love to listen to your shows. You're a night owl. I just learned that a couple nights ago. I'm not an owl. I'm the early bird person. So I have followed it 3 nights in a row. Phone laying on the bed, I'm knocked out. But
right. But it's recorded, so you can always tap in whenever you're ready. But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to be able to chop it up with like somebody who's been into Bitcoin and been like training people and all that. So I mean, what are your thoughts? Let's chop it up.
So just a short background. I got in 2016, so I'm a little bit behind you.
It's all right.
My short background. I was in a bullion group. That's how I started. I had a relative who got me into investing and collecting gold and silver years and years ago. Mm-hmm. So I'm I was in a bullion group, and we talked about it all the time. And there was a gentleman in our group that was into Bitcoin. So he would drop little things in our group all the time about this digital currency thing and blah, and he wasn't aggressive. He wasn't like an aggressive salesman. He would just say little things here and there. And of course, one day I kind of bid, or maybe he sent me a separate thing. I'm not really sure. But, one day I finally started talking to him about it. I am not a techie. So he was high level technology. And it was a bit confusing when he would talk to me initially, because he was like codes. And I was like, what in the world? So he would send me these videos to watch. And I remember he sent me like the first 3 videos. I remember one of the videos was so advanced. I literally watched the video. It had to have been 10 times. It was like an hour-long video. I probably watched it 10 times before I felt like I got a little bit of the concept of what this guy was trying to teach me. So it took me a while, but that was the beginning of 2016. I finally jumped in and bought Bitcoin probably mid 2016. So it took me about 6 months of him sending me these videos and talking to me before, kind of back then it wasn't a lot out there yet.
Right. When did the light bulb click for you?
So my first purchase, he lived in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, when I started talking to him, I was in Chicago. Then I moved down to Georgia.
One time for Chi-Town.
Haven't sit in the house, right?
All right.
So when I made my first purchase, he showed me the Bitcoin ATM tracker website, or I can't remember. I've got the name of it, but find Bitcoin ATM, something like that. So anyway, we went on. We found an ATM machine near my house, and he stayed on my cell phone with me when I went to the gas station that was closest to me, and I bought my first Bitcoin on an ATM machine, through the ATM machine.
Oh, okay.
Once I did.
But what caused like, when was that moment, that aha moment, to be like, wait, this is something I need to put a little bit of money into?
Like I said, he spoon fed me for like 6 months. It just took me a long time to grasp, because the videos he sent me, okay, he used to work with Reggie, what's the guy's name? Big in Bitcoin, black guy in New York. Reggie Middleton.
Okay.
You don't know Reggie Middleton?
No, I don't know Reggie Middleton.
Okay, so he somehow was connected with Reggie. Reggie is highly intelligent. If you guys want to follow somebody else, follow Reggie. But Reggie is very high level, so you gotta gotta get what you can with Reggie Middleton. So anyway, he would send me these videos that were really advanced. When I finally got to the ATM machine and I purchased, it put a lot of the puzzle pieces together. And then, of course, at that point, I had been watching it. So when he first started talking to me about Bitcoin, I think it was around $400. Probably 2016, probably about $400 a Bitcoin. By the time I purchased the first time, it was probably about $600 or $700 a Bitcoin. So just from when we started till I got to the machine, which had only been 6 months, it had gone up $200-$300. So I noticed that instantly. And if I would have done it when he told me to do it, I would have been up more money.
Right.
So, yeah, I got in that, and at that point, I'm still working with him, but I'm also starting to do my own research. So, and then, when you start watching your investment and you see these numbers going up, I got in before the 10,000, 20,000 bull run. Of course, my phone started going crazy at the same time.
With people saying, tell me about Bitcoin.
Because as soon as I learned about it, I'm like, hey, let me try to explain to you. And I like to do the beginner level classes, first of all, because I'm not super duper advanced. But because of how I learned, and back then the videos were so confusing to me, I like to teach in very simple terms. Like I use these easy comparisons so people can grasp the understanding. I'm hoping by now it's easier. But, back in the day, we were fighting the banks. We were fighting the media, the devil, the president was against, everybody was against it. So,
oh, yeah. Absolutely. I remember, check this out, right? I remember, and I'll never forget, and I'm gonna call him by name too, right? So this was in the Virgin Islands, and there's a bank called First Bank, and I was buying Bitcoin through my account in First Bank. They got the nerve to call me. I'm driving one day, and I'm seeing the bank is calling me. I'm like, "What's the bank calling me for?" And they're like, "We saw a purchase." They talking to me. I'm like, "What do you mean? Why did I do that?" They're like, "Well, we're flagging your account, and if you buy Bitcoin again, we're gonna have to close your account." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because it's volatile, and we just don't like that." And I said, "You know what? Come off of my phone right now, because I'm going to show up and talk to you in person, and I'm going to close my account." And that day, I went and closed my account from that bank. You understand what I'm saying? But it just shows you that these banks, they actually control people's economic lives, and they can shut you down at any moment. The thing about Bitcoin is that they can't. To shut down Bitcoin, you'd have to shut down the internet, and to shut down the internet means that you shut down banks. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like they're in a catch-22 situation. You know what I'm saying? But you're absolutely right. Everybody, first it starts with ridicule, then it starts with anger, then it goes to acceptance. Those are the three stages of new developments, right? And so you're absolutely right. You were there during that time. So yeah, we got those war stories.
Yeah, it was, at different banks. I'm using this bank and that bank to transfer money. And, the ATM machine was pretty easy, but the fees are so high. But,
Right.
too. Yeah, and that was the funny story you were saying about so the gentleman who got me into it also introduced me to, it was back then, it was called the African Bitcoin Convention or Conference, something like that.
Okay.
So that was in South Africa. And I remember coming back on the plane from South Africa and filling out the customs form.
Mm.
Have more than $10,000. I remember that was my first time. I was so confused. I was like, do I say yes, I do? I didn't know what to put on the form. But how can they can't get in my phone to know what's in this account. So of course I was like, nope, I don't have it on me. I mean, it's in
Right.
there somewhere. It's on the blockchain. I don't have the block.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so that's the thing is like a lot of people who like are into investments say, "Oh, I prefer gold over Bitcoin." First of all, um, gold is not like, you see, whenever people find gold somewhere, they dig for more gold. So it's like it's not something that is actually hard capped in terms of supply. You can find more gold any day, anywhere. The other side of it too is gold is cumbersome, and gold requires a lot of security if you're going to have value of gold, and you cannot transport gold. You just can't transport gold across international lines without having to declare it. And when you declare it, there's a great chance that the government may confiscate it from you. And then the word gets out that you're moving with gold in your luggage. Good luck. You understand what I'm saying? So Bitcoin is digital gold. Uh, it's a better store of value. As I showed, you'd have only made 7% in the last 4 years with gold, whereas you made 5x with Bitcoin. So it's like the proof is in the pudding. What I want to ask you is that, so you started teaching people in our community can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been teaching unofficially for a really long time. I mean, right after I got into it, I really started understanding it and buying more. I, started buying some other coins and understanding. I started teaching people. So, like I said, initially it was all your friends and family. I mean, you start with people you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
mom, my aunts, my cousins, all my friends. I started with them first. And it was just very informal. I got them together in a room. I had them come to my office sometimes, and I just explained it to them. And I would have them go ahead and set up a wallet right then and there. I'm like, come on, let's do it right now while we're in this room together. And I'd have them set it up. And then people would refer more people and more people and more people. So I realized at some point I had to get more formal. So I actually created a PowerPoint presentation. No, the first formal class, somebody hosted or paid me to come teach their group or something. And we made it like a game. And it was really fun, kind of like a game, board game. And it was really fun and people got it, but it kind of took a long time. So then I came up, the second iteration, I came up with a PowerPoint presentation. And again, I keep it really simple. So we go through the PowerPoint presentation. They're allowed to ask me questions depending on the group. And I did a lot of these because, of course, this is coming into COVID too. So when I do a lot of in-person things, it's all online. And like I said, when I did any face-to-face classes, I have them set the wallet up right there in the class. I'm like, we're gonna start your first wallet. And if it was a pay class, typically the price I would charge is about $30 for the pay class, and I would transfer them $10 in the class. So basically, I only paid $20, and I gave them $10 back. But I have them up the wallet, and I transfer $10 right into their wallet, so they could see live sitting.
$10 worth of Bitcoin.
Yep, $10 worth of Bitcoin right there,
which is worth $50 now.
Exactly. So, and the only difference is when we started doing it online, it was a little bit harder to help people set up because we're already online. You know, I have several devices, but some people only have one device, and it's hard for them to set up and be on the call at the same time. But you know, then I would just help them after the class ended. I'd say, okay, I'm gonna do 15-minute calls with each of you at the end to help you guys get set up, because you know, people learn best when you take them all the way through the process.
Right.
So your paper and say, okay, now you go home and do these 3 more steps. 20% of people are going to do it, and 80% are going to be like, well, I was confused, or I didn't have enough time, or I forgot.
Right. And you know what's so crazy? What's so crazy is that you essentially charged them $20 and forced them to take $10 of Bitcoin. They're up 5.3x. So that's $53, which means that they actually made a $23 profit by just taking your course and paying you for the course. Like, they should be thanking you today.
I have relatives all the time that are like, I checked that old wallet and, you know, that it's up. And I gave my nieces and nephews Bitcoin for Christmas. I printed out certificates and handed them certificates. Of course, 2 out of the 3 nieces and nephews lost certificates. Of course, I have the copies here. You know, my one, she took it, she transferred it from that wallet, moved it wherever. I don't know, she probably spent it. But her brother and sister, they're like, I don't think we know where those certificates are. So I've got all the copies here, but you know, you try to set them up as good as you can. My daughter, even the same thing. She's got Bitcoin wallets and stuff places. I'm actually going to do, so I want to tell you one other thing. What crashed? The crash of 2008. Remember we had the crash of 2008?
Yeah.
Money in 401ks and retirement accounts, whatever. Of course, they got pretty wiped out. And so when we were coming up to this next crash, oh no, the 2000 crash. That was the first one, right? Well, not the first one. The one in 2000. Okay. I lost the money in that one.
That was money in like stocks and 401ks. Yeah. Yep. Not in Bitcoin, but in stocks and 401ks.
Exactly. And I could see it coming because I've always been into finances. So I've always followed finances. So you could see it coming, but you know, you can't really get your money out. You got to leave the company. You got to do all, you know, they make it so difficult for you to get your money out. So I changed to more stable funds, but you still lost money. When 2000 came up, I was like, oh no, we're not doing this again. So I really moved a lot of money out as much as I could at that time. When the next fall was coming now,
let me just stop you there, right? And this is what y'all got to realize, right? When you got a 401k, first of all, it's people managing your 401k, and they're taking a fee. And then when you want to take your money out, they penalize you for taking your own money out. This is why Bitcoin becomes more and more of an investment grade vehicle, because people who are paying attention to what's happening are seeing the foolishness with their own money. That when you want to withdraw your money out of a 401k, I believe it's like a 20% penalty.
Yep.
And who does that 20% go to? It's your money.
And then you get taxed when you file your taxes too.
Exactly. It's trash. It's a trash system to keep people poor. And luckily we have this thing called Bitcoin, and people are getting a lot smarter about it. And there's like I got a home girl, and I told her, take all your money out your 401k. I told her, take it all out and manage it yourself. She said, but I don't know anything about finance. And then I showed her the chart, the Bitcoin chart. She said, oh. She said, oh. She said, so if I want to sell my Bitcoin, I said, yeah, you can sell it. How soon can I get it? Immediately. Yeah, you get your money immediately. She's like, what? I can't even get my 401k money immediately. I got to fill out all types of forms and wait for this and wait for that approval. And they take 20% out. This is craziness.
That third one that came around, nope. I had all my money out, and I closed all those retirement accounts. I put mine in Bitcoin. I was like, oh no, you're not getting me. Third time, absolutely not. So I closed all my accounts out. We have one official type of account like that. Is my daughter's, one of the college fund accounts. And I stopped putting in, I'm going to do a live on my own page with this one because people just like cannot understand me. I had an account for her. It had only gotten, I think I only made 2 deposits. It was $600. And when the forms came and I read the terms, it was terrible. So I stopped putting money in the account, right? But I couldn't get the money out. She's only 13 now. They're like, oh, if you take it out before she's 18, all the penalties. It was $600. I was like, fine, just keep it. Heru, I stopped putting money in it. She was 2 or 3 years old. So that same $600 has been in it for 10 years. Do you know, I got a statement maybe last month. The balance in the account right now, I think, is $680 in 10 years.
In 10 years.
I'm going to do it live. I'm going to show that statement. So I can explain to people it's a $20 annual fee. So taking $20, but I've only gained $80. So what? It's crazy. I'm like, stop with these 401. And she was in an aggressive fund at the time because she was 3.
Right.
In a 15-year time horizon. In 15 years, you gained me $80.
$80 in how many years?
In 10 years, she's had it.
Right. And they take $20 a year for a fee.
That was my annual fee.
Right. And then if you want to withdraw it, they want 20%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I said it's $600, just leave it. But I'm going to come out with $600.
Yeah, it's absolutely. This is what I'm saying is like, this is what they do to average everyday people because they know that they have not educated you enough to be able to maneuver around them. So you feel like you somebody because you got a 401k. Oh, I got a 401k. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, I got a 401k. Can't nobody talk to me. I got a 401k. And what you don't realize is that they are running game on you with a 401k.
Every 10 years. I mean, at this point, at my age, I can tell you by my age, let's look at it. You just looked at some chart. Let's look at this. Every 10 years, they wipe these accounts out. And then what do they always say? Oh, they're young enough. You still got this time horizon. You can build it back. I said, but at some point, you reach the age that you don't have the time horizon anymore. And you can't build it. And now you're going to work for an extra 20, 30 years because they wiped your account out. It's crazy. It's
absolutely crazy. Now, here's the thing, right? Just to, give full disclosure to people because people don't really understand the nature of these things. As I talked about volatility, any new financial instrument is going to be volatile for the first couple of years. It's going to be volatile, just like a child, right? A baby's born, they're crying, they're volatile, right? And as they get older, they get more calm. This is just how it is. And so with Bitcoin, it's been volatile. But if you understand game theory, this is what I'm trying to tell people. If you understand game theory, a Bitcoin crash represents an opportunity. It has happened time after time after time after time. And then what happens is because everything is upside down in human thinking, when it hits its high, that's when people want to buy in. Because all of a sudden now it becomes viable to them when you should actually be buying it when it hits its low. If you just took some time to understand what Bitcoin is about, because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, these people will forever be printing money. And when they print money, they increase the monetary supply, which decreases the value of your money. So that means that you cannot store money in money. You have to store money in a growth vehicle. It is scientifically and mathematically predictable that the value of fiat will drop because they only print money. This is the point that I'm trying to give you. Just like you don't have to have a PhD in economics to understand this. And I try to say, all right, let me put this in let me just put this in a way, right? Let's take Sister Kai, right? She's a good-looking sister, right? It's a good-looking sister. Let's just say that she's part of a society that deals with like what you call dowry, right? And people are looking at Kai like, man, Kai is really attractive. I would really like her to be my wife. Kai's walking around the village and she stands out amongst all the other women. The men who all want Kai to be their wife are now paying a high price for Kai. Guess what Kai is going to hate when she's ready to get married? Other women who look just like her come into the village. There's more Kais in the village. Not saying you ain't unique, because I know you're unique, sis. But what I'm saying is that these qualities, you start flooding the market with your twins. All of a sudden now, Kai's asking price for her dowry goes down because there's more Kais in the village. This is the whole concept of money printing. They keep adding more to the monetary supply. So now the value of the money in terms of what that money is actually goes down. You understand what I'm saying? That's why you got to pay more money for a carton of eggs in 2024 than you had to pay in 2020. And guess what? The only way that you're going to understand this for yourself is to ask yourself this question. Are your grandchildren, when they are your age, going to pay more for that same carton of eggs that you're paying today? If the answer is yes, do not keep your money in fiat. That means that the money that you have is always going to gradually be worth less and less. Whereas Bitcoin, we saw the Bitcoin curve. I showed it to you all. Yes, there's volatility, but with time, in terms of the net value, it's always going to go up. That's why real estate always goes up. I mean, think about real estate. Look at what's going on with real estate. It is actually one of the probably real estate and wine are the only things that get that like in and of itself you can buy and know that when it gets older, it's actually more valuable, right? It's not because the house is actually older, but what it is that because it's a fixed asset and it can't move anywhere, it increases in value based on the fact that your money has decreased in value. But what's happening now with real estate, which is trillions of dollars in investment, I don't know if you've seen this, Kai. People who are real estate investors now, like Grant Cardone, I don't know if people are familiar with Grant Cardone. He's a big real estate investor guy. He has a lot of shows on YouTube, and he talks about like real estate investing. He does the numbers on it. He ain't investing in real estate no more.
Wow.
He's putting it all into Bitcoin because you get a better rate of return with Bitcoin. And you have less of a headache and less responsibilities with Bitcoin. So now imagine this. What happens when trillions of dollars of real estate value move into Bitcoin?
You think that many people will finally catch on? I mean,
yes, it's happening now.
Remember when the bull run happened and those guys were selling everything? They were living in their cars and all this, they were like, I'm trying to get rid of every asset I have. I'm going to put it in Bitcoin. I mean, I'm sure they're multimillionaires at this point, but
oh, absolutely.
That's aggressive.
Absolutely. And that's what's happening. Like I told you, I have a friend of mine, like someone I know personally, who I had this conversation. I ran the numbers with him. The next day, he put his house on sale. That was an investment property. He got rid of that house and got about $100,000 in equity in that house from the sale of that house. He put it all into Bitcoin. He's up 5.3x now. That I think your camera froze. But that $100,000 in that house is now $500,000, whereas it might be $200,000 in equity today if he just kept that house. But he still has to deal with the headache of tenants calling him in the middle of the night because the toilet can't flush or people can't pay the rent. Real estate is a hassle compared to Bitcoin. And so when people start waking up to this, particularly institutional investors in real estate will understand, those who have a fiduciary responsibility in creating a return for their investors, they're going to see that they're actually committing fiduciary malfeasance not to invest in Bitcoin. This is what's happening. This is what's happening now. And this is what Michael Saylor is saying that all of these, these big companies who've got surplus of cash like Apple and all of that, at some point, the investors are going to be like, why are you holding on to all that cash? You're going to have to put the cash in the balance sheet into Bitcoin. And imagine when that starts happening. This is part of game theory. And I'm glad that people listening, I hope you all are following along, because the more money starts rushing into Bitcoin, the more the price goes up of Bitcoin. And this is all part of game theory. You're going to start seeing real estate holdings from real estate investors transfer that value into Bitcoin. You're going to start seeing the balance sheet of publicly traded companies with excess cash, not keep it in cash, because if you keep it in cash, you're going to be losing the value. It's going to go into Bitcoin. So now it's easy to see Bitcoin go from 70,000 to 700,000 in warp speed. And guess what? Biden and them still going to be printing money. Trump and them still going to be printing money, because that's all that they can do. So now you start seeing all of these things, and then you start getting, because when Bitcoin hits 100,000, and it's going to, that's when you're going to start getting more and more phone calls. Kai, what was that Bitcoin you was talking about? You know what I'm saying? That's when it's going to start. And then retail people start piling in on Bitcoin because it's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's just that people don't have patience. If you understand what's happening with the trajectory of the world, you can actually accurately predict these things without, just like electric vehicles. Who the hell is going to want an internal combustion vehicle in the next 10 years compared to an EV? Who the hell would want a horse and buggy when the automobile came out? Like, when you saw an automobile came out, it's like, wait, I can get to A and B without a horse shitting all over the place? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to stay with the horse and buggy industry. And what I'm saying is that the banking industry is the horse and buggy industry. It smells. It's slow. It requires a third party.
No, they're safe. They say they're safe. They can protect your money. They can also lock it down. They can protect your money. I don't need my money protected. I need to be able to go to the bank and get what I want when I want, and I don't want to answer any questions.
You don't want to answer any questions, but
well, what do you need it for?
Yeah, go try. Yeah, that's what they ask you. They ask you. Go try to withdraw $20,000 and see what type of question they ask you.
Sure do.
Yeah, what do you need it for? See, if you don't give me my money, you know what I'm saying? If you don't give me my money, you know what I'm saying? And that's when you want to just transfer everything into Bitcoin. You just transfer into Bitcoin.
I don't keep money in the bank. I keep, $100.
Just enough for your expenses.
I have no balances in the bank at all, and I got bank accounts.
With my businesses, I take Bitcoin. Pay me in Bitcoin, please. I'll even give you free shipping.
So
you understand what I'm saying?
That worked for the bank, and I had to buy her Bitcoin for her in my account because her job told her they're forbidden from buying Bitcoin. I couldn't understand. I went crazy when she told me that. I was like, how can that? It's the same as me getting pesos. It's a currency.
Right.
They can't tell me I can't go to Mexico and get pesos, or I can't be an American and it's a currency. How can you stop me from getting illegal currency? But her job, which was the bank, told her they're forbidden from investing in any Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I was like, wow.
And what's going to happen is that those banks that are doing that, they're going to start losing customers and start getting withdrawals that they can't cover because they do fractional lending. You're going to start seeing a cascade event happening. with these banks going out of business, because if you don't allow people to buy Bitcoin, they're just going to withdraw their business from you, because what you're doing is you're keeping them trapped into a devaluing currency. Like the money's being burned by keeping it in the bank. And the bank is insulting you, because what they're doing is they're making double on your money by giving these loans out to other industries or to other rich people and giving you 1% or 0.1%.
Your money in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's their portfolio.
Yeah, they put your money into Bitcoin and won't let you get into Bitcoin. And what people don't understand is, like, a lot of these banks are starting to go out of business. And if you've got a business, and it happened last year to a couple of big banks, and a lot of people were losing their money, and it was going to actually cause what you call economic contagion, because the FDIC only covers $250,000. So now what happens is that now people would say, for an individual, oh, 250,000. Who got $250,000 in the bank? Okay, fine. And then you say, oh, you all are having a bourgeois conversation, right? But no, most like thriving businesses would have $250,000 or more in reserve, right? Which means that if the bank closes, they're only able to cover $250,000 through FDIC, which means you would lose all your money. So what people had to do was they had to open up several different bank accounts with different banks so that they could spread their money around for it to be covered. So you see what's starting to happen. So if you just had it in Bitcoin, there is no limit to how much you can store in Bitcoin. There's no permission. You can walk around with that money. You can store that money. No one needs to know how much you have. And this is what's happening now. Think about this, Kai. What are the implications for a developing country that has destroyed fiat as value? You now, for the first time, have the ability to take your fiat that you know is going to decelerate in value at a fast breakneck pace and store it in Bitcoin and transfer Nairas, CDs, and all of this. And as a matter of fact, and I told people this, the story, so I'm going to share a story with you. Story time. You ready for a story time? All right. So it's that I have family members in government in Ghana. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So I have an uncle who's like, he's my father's youngest brother. So my grandfather had children into his 70s. So my father was a lot older than my other uncle, who's young, who's my age. So we're kind of close, and we can text back and forth, and you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But he's like big, and he's a big person in the Ghana government. So when El Salvador, I had talked to them about Bitcoin. I was in Ghana and I met them and I talked to them, and they looked at me like a deer with headlights. They didn't know what it was, because a lot of these people running African countries or Caribbean countries, they're dinosaurs. They're literally dinosaurs. Like, some of them don't even know how to conduct email, like to send an email. Like, they're just technologically behind. A lot of them, the old people, right? Because a lot of them are old. All right. I tell them, look, buy Bitcoin and put money into Bitcoin. Like, here's the chart. This is what it looks like. If you'd have put money in Bitcoin 3 years ago, you'd have triple your money. I'm showing them all these numbers. And they're like, they got their eyes like this. Like, you know when someone's listening to you, but they're not really listening? Mm-hmm. Because they don't really understand what you're saying. It's like a foreign language. And they're just kind of shaking their head. And you can know that they're just shaking their heads like as a rhythm and not because they're agreeing with you. Yep. All right. A year later, El Salvador passes the law to make Bitcoin legal tender. I send the article to my uncle and I say, you see what I was telling you? Ghana needs to do the same thing, make Bitcoin legal tender so that the Ghanaian citizens can save their hard-earned money from CDs into Bitcoin. This was in 2020, I think I told him this. Okay. I wrote him a whole write-up as to my thoughts. This was on WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. He sent my message to the head of the board of governors for the Bank of Ghana. Right? Sent it to him, to the Bank of Ghana, the head of the Bank of Ghana. Within 20 minutes, he replies back. Now, here's the story could almost stop there because that's a miracle. You're not going to get the head of the Bank of Ghana to reply back to you because he's usually in Dubai with his third girlfriend. Right?
Right.
They're not, these guys are not replying back to you. They're not on the job like that. You understand what I'm saying? But because my uncle is an important person, he's like, oh, I got to respond. His response is this. This is real. The response is, oh, we're not interested in Bitcoin right now. We're actually interested in, let me just backtrack. In the explanation as to why the Ghana government should make Bitcoin legal tender and even put its reserves into Bitcoin, my explanation was to stop monetary devaluation because you all are borrowing money from the IMF, and which means that you're always going to have your currency debased, and you all are printing money. Okay, so because you're printing money and borrowing money from the IMF and the World Bank, it is mathematically predictable that the value of the cedi is going to go down against the dollar. This is just math. And as a matter of fact, if I wasn't an African patriot, I would have shorted the cedi, the Ghanaian cedi, and made money because I know that this is going to happen. You understand what I'm saying? You could just short it. You could just short it in the futures market and just say, I'm betting against this currency. Right? It just made a lot of money. But I didn't do that because I'm still an African patriot. I'm not that cynical, even though I know mathematically what's going to happen. Right? Okay. So listen, we know, and you know, and I know that the value of the cedi is going to go down. This is just math. Okay? This is not opinion. So the way that we can protect the Ghanaian citizenry is if they're allowed to put their money into Bitcoin, and the Ghanaian government's holdings is converted to Bitcoin. This will prevent monetary collapse and a devaluation of the cedi, and also the theft of the wealth of the average citizen, because this is what's happening. It's theft. Whenever you got money in the bank, that's worth $100,000 today, but tomorrow, because of a governmental loan or a policy, it's now worth $10,000. They've just stolen $90,000 from you in your sleep. And this is what a lot of people ain't getting, and people ain't understand. It happens slower in America, and it happens quicker in developing countries. It's literally theft. So I said Bitcoin stops this because it has a hard cap of 21 million. You can't print any more Bitcoin. All right. The head of the board of governors contacts my uncle. My uncle then sends the reply to me. The reply is, we're not interested in Bitcoin right now. We're rather interested in central bank digital currencies.
Well,
and response was, oh, he thinks it's about digital currency. He thinks it's about being able to move money at electronic speed. He completely missed Economics 101 about monetary expansion causing inflation and causing the debasement of a currency. And there's no solution that you all have besides actually Bitcoin, or start your own cryptocurrencies as hard capped. But you got to do something that's hard capped. But they didn't address that. They didn't address it. And he didn't address it, which let me know, oh shit, Ghana's about to go down the drain in terms of its currency. I knew that. And what I said, and then 4 years later, here we are. The Ghanaian currency went from $6, 6 cedis to 1 to 12 to 1 within 3 years, which means that it costs double to buy the same thing in Ghana. But if the same people would have been able to save their money in Bitcoin, they would have made 5 times their value over that time just sleeping on their money by putting it into Bitcoin as part of legal tender. And so what we found out is they've done projections, and they said in the next 10 years per capita, the average El Salvadorian citizen will be wealthier than a citizen of Switzerland because of what Nayib Bukele has done with allowing them to save their money and get paid in Bitcoin.
And you know, a couple issues here in the States, the poor people in the States. If they don't understand, you said way earlier, things aren't necessarily getting more expensive. The dollar is becoming less valuable. And I always try to explain this in the class as well. Like, because here in the States, even when you go to the bank or anything else, they don't have, when you're out the country, they always have those conversion charts everywhere. You go to the bank there, they got the conversion charts. You go, you go these places when you travel and they always show you the conversion. Usually it's what, their currency is versus the dollar or the nearest other country's currency that they're interacting with frequently. So people outside of the United States understand that better. They understand that it's not stuff is more expensive. It's your currency is less valuable. So I always have to spend a little bit of time trying to explain that to people. Stop getting mad at the cup. The cup is still the same cup. It's nothing changed with the cup. It's the dollar that changed. The cup is the same. The dollar is different.
Yep. I want to show folks something, and it happens slower in the United States, but it happens quicker in other places. Listen, when I was in Jamaica in I went to Jamaica in like 2013 or something like that. The Jamaican dollar to the US dollar was 70. I remember it was 70 to 1. I'd like to share with everyone a screenshot of the price of the Jamaican dollar compared to the US dollar to show that we're not just making this up. Me and Kai, we're not just talking to talk. This is really serious because it affects everybody. Look at this. It's 155 to 1. Mm-hmm. That means that you've got to pay more than double for the same thing that you had to pay for about a decade ago. Which means that the average Jamaican, where their wages have not changed, has to work twice as hard to buy the same loaf of bread. You have to work 2 times as many hours to buy the same loaf of bread, which means that they are stealing your life away from you. Your life expectancy hasn't increased. So let's just put this in real terms. If your life expectancy is 80 years old, the life expectancy hasn't increased in the last 10 years. So that means that if you have to work double as hard, double as much time to work to get the same thing, you actually are having your life eaten away because you're not increasing double your age. You're not being able to live to 160 as the average age. You're living to be 80, and that hasn't changed. But they are taking more of your free time away, and you have to work more to buy the same thing and still die at the same damn age. See, people don't see these things because these are not conversations that we have.
Oh, but wait a minute. I'm a licensed insurance agent for over 20 years, and I hate to break it to you. Life expectancy average used to be 84 in the United States. It actually went backwards, and part of this is probably due to COVID, but we went from 84, we're now at 81. So yeah, we're now on average,
right. It's actually getting worse. It's getting less because of these diseases, these metabolic disorders, and the bad food that people are eating. So actually, your life expectancy is actually decreasing. And I don't even want to get into all of that because you deal with insurance, so you deal with actuarial science. So you know what time it is. You know that all-cause mortalities have increased. It's actually increased because of these vaccines that people were pumped with. That's just the real deal. We do a special live on that. I don't care if they want to ban me. I got the information. You understand what I'm saying? And I was trying to tell people during the whole pandemic, don't take these things. Please don't take these things. Don't take these things. It's Pfizer. Like, do you know who Pfizer is? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, they didn't even have the decency to change the name of their company. You understand what I'm saying? It's like Jack the Ripper coming to you for like a job application and still keeping the name Jack the Ripper. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So this is what I want people to see. The Jamaican dollar is now $1 to 150, $1 to 155. It used to be 70, which means that the people are suffering twice as much. And this is happening country after country after country after country. And here's the deal. Many people listening to this is the first time they're hearing this type of analysis. This is the first time they're hearing this type of thought. And it's easy to understand once it's explained properly.
Right.
If you lived in a society that actually cared about you, they would be breaking this down for you every day. This should be the main topic for everybody to understand what's happening with your money, because that's the only reason why you're waking up tomorrow morning, is to go to work to make money. You're not there because you really love your job. Most people don't love their job. They're only there to make, and they definitely don't love the people they work with. You understand what I'm saying? They're only there to get some of this fiat to do whatever it is. But what if they told you that slowly you got to work twice as much to buy the same thing? So instead of 40 hours, you got to now work 80 hours to buy the same thing. And then in another group of years, you got to work 160 hours to buy the same thing. This is what you call time slavery. And that's what happens when you have the debasement of a currency. And it happens everywhere where they print fiat. And now they're going to move to central bank digital currencies. And when they do that, it's going to be easier, because now you're not waiting for a machine to print fiat. All you got to do is press a button and add a zero at the end. Now you've added more to the monetary supply. And guess what? The only people who are going to be benefiting from that are people like me and Kai and BlackRock and everyone else who have bought Bitcoin. And the thing is, they let you know that everyone can buy it, but they know that not everyone's going to buy it, because this education is not given to people. That's why I got to salute someone like you who's taking the time to educate people. Because what you've done is you've actually shown people the Underground Railroad. It's up to them if they want to actually follow that trail. You understand what I'm saying? And you've done that. You've done your part. I've done my part. Since 2011, when Bitcoin was $50, I was telling people like, yo, this is what I'm buying. Like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm holding on. And this is what it's allowed me to start a construction company in Africa. Because what I do is I take that value of the Bitcoin. I don't just hold on to it to hoard it. I'm using it for real life situations. So now I can build water treatment systems and water catchment systems in Africa with that same Bitcoin that all I had to do was buy and sleep and open up the account in a couple of years and see that it's tripled and doubled or quadrupled in 10x and 50x and 1000x. And if I show people the amount of X that Bitcoin has done since 2010, you're going to get sick to your stomach.
And let me tell you, that's one of the last things I want to point out, because I deal with this a whole lot. And I've had some just nightmare stories with some of the people I've helped. They're not traders. They're not heavy into investing. They've never invested. They've only had 401ks, which you do nothing. You just let them take it out your paycheck. So you really don't do anything. And as soon as they get in, all of a sudden they think in their minds they're going to be the expert trader. And then they'll start calling me every minute, every 10 minutes, every day. What do I do? You don't do anything. I wasn't giving you a trading class. I was trying to know about Bitcoin. I wanted you to get in. And because you are a novice level, I just want you to put it there and leave it there. If you want to
It's a savings account. That's what it is. It's a savings account.
Oh man, they freak out, they flip out. Well, aren't I going to trade it? No, I'm like, no, you were never a trader. Like, we're just going to let it sit there.
Right.
Leave it there and let it sit there. And that's been another struggle for a lot of people. Like when you did your investing class like a couple of years ago, I guess. I mean, I followed you. I got into Tesla. Thank you, Heru. That was a great investment.
Everybody who got in made 4x.
Not a true. I understand stocks and bonds, but I don't study it like that. What I have and I've had for years, I just buy and hold it. So when
Right.
I followed your advice, I wasn't okay. Well, I'm gonna buy it now and I'm gonna sell it tomorrow and buy back again. I was like, no, I'm gonna. Your explanation was good enough. It made sense. I understood it. I'm gonna buy and hold, and this is the projection. And so I'm trying to tell people the same thing about Bitcoin. I'm like, same thing. I show them the charts. It's in my slideshow. Here's the charts. Look at the increases. Yes, it decreases. It goes back up. It doubles. It triples. Just hold it. And people sometimes they just get in there. All of a sudden they get into Bitcoin and they just think now they're expert traders. I'm like, where did I say this is a trading class? This is learn Bitcoin, invest in it, and hold it. You don't have to trade it. Just sit on it.
Yep. Absolutely. And there's some questions being asked. And let me get to the questions and you can answer them, Kai. I will chime in when it's time to chime in, but it's good to have someone else speak about this. So the sister Ebony Simpson, she asked, we need people to continue to uptake Bitcoin in order for it to be full success, right? What happens when all the Bitcoin is bought?
The price just continues to increase because once it's all bought, the only way you're going to be able to get it is to buy it from somebody else who has it.
Exactly.
I use the story about me and all my clones. When I'm by myself, I'm
right.
very valuable. When
right.
there's a whole bunch of me, my value may not be so high. So same thing with Bitcoin. Once we reach the 21 million, which we're not even going into the halving thing, but
yeah, we ain't going to that.
Every 4 years, how much is coming into existence decreases every 4 years. They call it a halving event. Is coming up in 10 days now, 20 days. It's coming up.
Yeah, very soon.
So every time it halves, there's less being created, and there's already a set number.
So it's math.
Yep, less
it's pure math.
Created. More people are learning about it, so more people are wanting it, and less is being made. So the value increases. Scarcity. That's the word. It's scarcity.
Yep. So once it's scarce, the price actually, if there's no more Bitcoin that's being created, then it's about the Bitcoin that exists, and it's as long as it has utility and demand, the price goes up because there's no more to be made. So we're looking at 70,000 is early. 70,000 early. So the best way to purchase Bitcoin, someone just asked. I mean, the easiest way is Cash App. You could do it through Robinhood, but most people have Cash App. You can get it through Cash App. If you don't want any fees, you can use an app called Strike.
Or if you're old-fashioned and you don't want to use the computer, go to an ATM machine.
But they just have high fees, though. That's the only thing. Yeah.
The fees are very high. But I had to take a relative of mine. We had to go in Chicago, find a Bitcoin ATM. He is not very good on his smartphone. He's not good on the computer. He's in his late 60s. I had to take him to the Bitcoin ATM in Chicago, and he could understand. We put his $100 bills in the machine, and it was much easier for him. So depending on, what you can handle. But yeah, there's plenty of apps and different places you can get it.
Yep.
Using anything that's US based, there's going to be KYC. That's another thing. People start freaking out. They want my license number. They want my date of birth. Oh yeah. If it's a reputable company and you're in the United States, you're going to have KYC, which is know your customer. So just go open a bank account, and you got to have a legal ID and fingerprints and whatever else. It's real tender. They don't want to tell you it's real, but it's real, and you're going to have to identify yourself to buy it.
Yep. In the past, you could get it without KYC through local Bitcoins when people used to have. I don't know if you can still do that through local Bitcoin, where basically people do exchanges, where you can do exchanges on the market.
They shut that down a long time ago.
They shut that down? Okay.
I can't even think of what it was called. Yeah, it was a local site. It was really cool. It had a bunch of. It was like an eBay type site for cryptocurrencies. and you could go in, you could see who lived in your area, the people in your area.
Mhm.
You could literally meet them on the street. This person would be like, hey, I meet at 7-Elevens. This one would be like, I do my exchanges at so and so. And you literally could meet, give them the cash, they transfer it to you right there. Some people would do it with you over the phone. It was really neat. But yeah, but they shut that site down long time ago. I don't know if any, there may be some other ones. I'm sure other ones have popped up, but
Yeah. Let me share this with you all because I made a provocative statement that a lot of people don't understand. I said that 70,000 Bitcoin at $70,000 is early, and a lot of people don't really understand what's happening. Um, and let me share with you all some prognosticators who have been on point. That's why I got into Tesla early, and this woman is named Kathy Wood.
and
She breaks down.
can I just tell you the
Yeah.
person asked that question? Let's do this really easily. We just said there's only going to be 21 million ever put in existence, right? 21 million for the world. This is not just the United States thing. It's not just that. It's 21 million for the entire world. There are about 33, what is it, 328 million people in the United States. So you have 328 million people just in the United States of America. And we're only going to have 21 billion.
21 million.
21 million, excuse me, not billion.
Yeah.
So there's never going to be enough that everybody on earth can even own one whole Bitcoin.
Right. So you're going to be owning pieces, and so the pieces are going to be very valuable. This is what people need to understand. Someone asked about SEC regulation of cryptocurrency. Does it defeat the whole decentralization feature? No, it doesn't, because Bitcoin is completely decentralized by the way that it works because of how you have miners spread out throughout the whole world, giving people incentive to actually run Bitcoin nodes and Bitcoin mining machines, and all you need is the internet. So there's no government that can shut down Bitcoin. So the decentralization feature is actually built into Bitcoin to prevent anything like a SEC regulation that says, oh, we're going to ban Bitcoin. The only way that you could ban Bitcoin is to ban the internet. So it's over for them. They don't really have a way out. So you can have SEC regulations, and they've come out with a regulation saying that Bitcoin is not a security; it's actually property. Whereas other cryptocurrencies are considered securities because they were pre-mined or they can be printed more of, and so it's almost like a stock. So that's a security. Whereas Bitcoin is a property because there's a finite supply, and it did not have pre-mining, and there is no CEO. Or board of directors or anything. So it's not seen as a security in the classic sense. It is seen as property. So Bitcoin falls under property laws, whereas other cryptocurrencies tend to fall under securities laws. So that's, hopefully I answered that question. Now, what I want to do is get into this to let people know about the price of Bitcoin. Now, this is Kathy Woods. She's the owner of ARK Invest. This is an investment fund that is focused on technology and breakthrough businesses. She was very early in Tesla. She predicted the price of Tesla. I remember her predicting the price of Tesla, and people at CNBC laughing at her. And in 2 years, her price was reached, and they all had to apologize to her. She's saying that she's seeing a bull case for Bitcoin at 1.5 million by 2030. Okay, and let's hear what she has to say.
Okay, now let's talk pricing, or I shouldn't say pricing, but the price of Bitcoin. You and I have had conversations now over many years where you talked about Bitcoin being worth something on the order of $500,000, literally in only a couple of years from now. Do you stand by that? How does this ETF change that, speed that up, slow it down? What do you think?
Yes. So you'll find in our big ideas, so that's at ark-invest.com, the building blocks for our price forecast. And our base case is in the $600,000 range. Our bull case, and we think the probability of the bull case has increased with this SEC approval. This is a green light. Our bull case is $1.5 million by 2030. You can see the building blocks. You can see how conservative we are in terms of those building blocks. This is a big idea.
It's game theory.
It is the first global, decentralized, digital, rules-based, critical there, rules-based monetary system in history. It is a very big idea.
And let me ask you the separate question, which is, do you believe that for it to get to those type of numbers, it has to become a currency, not just an asset? One of the things that Brian Armstrong was talking about is he thinks that this is just going to create a lot more interest in crypto across the board, and that is what's going to actually propel this and might even change the dynamic with which Bitcoin is being used, which is currently today as digital gold or something like that, but potentially actually could leapfrog into the currency that people have talked about for many years.
Yes, our first paper on this was in 2015. The white paper is still on our site. And we tried to figure out, could Bitcoin serve the three roles of money? Store of value, as you say, most people agree with that one. Means of exchange, unit of account. And the answer to that was yes. We put out a Bitcoin brainstorm with our partner Bitcoin Park in Nashville. And it examines the convergence of artificial intelligence and Bitcoin. And you'll hear his nickname's Roast Beef on that podcast talk about that convergence and how it's going to redefine the division of labor. It's probably going to put the gig economy on steroids. And it's starting already in the emerging markets, in Africa in particular. So it's very exciting. I don't think people understand how hard at work the developers around the world have been. Lightning Network is a big part of leveraging the base layer, Bitcoin. So we're very excited. We're so happy that ARKB is going to be part of the ecosystem.
Now
let's talk pricing.
Now, there may be some aspects that y'all didn't understand, but when I talked earlier about money, I told you the three utilities of money being a unit of account, store of value, and also an exchange medium. So, she kind of just reiterated that. But what is most important is her price projection at 1.5 million by 2030, which it is now 2024, so 6 years. So here's the question. If one Bitcoin is at $70,000 right now, not saying that you can afford $70,000 right now, like to buy a whole Bitcoin, but remember, you can buy pieces of Bitcoin. You can buy $1 worth of Bitcoin right now. But here's the question. If you understand Bitcoin, you understand what we've been talking about, you understand game theory. This is the little stacks that she was talking about. If I told you that there's a house down the street from you that you can buy for $70,000 today, and in 6 years, that house will be worth $1.5 million, would you buy it? That's,
if we could.
Yeah, exactly. You would actually take a loan to buy it. And that's exactly what Michael Saylor's doing. He's the guy with MicroStrategy. He's taking loans to buy Bitcoin through his company. Like, basically, he's putting his company into debt to buy Bitcoin because he knows that he would rather get a loan to buy something at $70,000 that he knows in 6 years is going to be 1.5 million. And this is the way you have to think about Bitcoin. It's sad that this is not a normal, regular conversation amongst us, but this is the way that you have to start thinking about these things. If there's a house across the street from you that is on sale for $70,000 today, but according to your study of the area, they're going to put some Whole Foods in the area. They're going to start, you understand what I'm saying? They're going to put an amusement park. They're going to put a college in the area. They're going to start doing some things in the area. This, and maybe other people don't, but that the area is about to change. But you can buy this for $70,000, and that in 6 years it's going to be 1.5 million. Would you buy that house? The answer is yes, every single time of the day. And this is the type of time I'm on. This is the type of time Kai is on. We understand these things. And this is why we're having this conversation. I hope y'all share this with everybody. Share this with your family and friends because, you know, we just brothers and sisters who are just trying to just talk regular talk for people to understand some of these things because you live in a society that doesn't teach you how to thrive. It doesn't teach you the necessary things to thrive. The only thing they teach you to do is to get a job. And as I explored yesterday with the Unabomber's Manifesto, all that requires to keep a job is one thing: obedience. That's it. So I ain't got a job. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not obedient. I do business and I invest. And when things crash, I buy more. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm just telling you all, I'm telling you all right now that if your friends ain't told you, I'm going to tell you. And I'm telling you that when you start studying this thing and start looking at the trajectory, what you know is this, is that over time, your money, your dollar is going to get weaker. So I'm not saying you need to buy Bitcoin. All I'm trying to tell you is put your money in something where it's going to grow more than the monetary expansion causing inflation to devalue the value of your money. I don't care what you do with it, but please understand that if you keep your money in the bank, that money is slowly burning away through time. If you live in America, it's a slower burn. If you live in other countries in the black world, it's a quicker burn. So you got to be able to understand some of these concepts and understand what is available to you, because your grandchildren are going to ask you why you didn't buy Bitcoin when it was $70,000. Because by that time, it may be 7 million.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I got to add to the conversation, man. And Sister Kai is here. So if y'all need to link up with her to get some more education and some training, how you can get your Bitcoin wallet up and running, how do people reach you?
Well, we're on, so what are we on right now? Facebook. If you see me there, I'm on Facebook. I'm just Kai Wilson. My name is on the screen, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
I'll give you my email. I have an email that's very easy to use. It's just kaiwilson@yahoo.com.
Okay. That's how people link you.
Yep.
And I advise people, take it seriously. Link up the sister. As you can tell, it's a good sister. She knows what she's talking about. She's been in this game. She ain't new to it. And she can explain it very well. And she gets your wallet up and running because, look, if we don't do it for each other, nobody's going to do it for us. Like it's not, everything right now is on some self-help type vibes. When it comes to health, to wealth, you better get in tune with people who are autodidactic. And what I mean by that, people who are self-taught, who have been successful in what they've learned and are willing to share this information with you, for little to no cost. It is a return on investment. So you've invested time in watching this stream because I'm giving you value every time I come on live. I'm giving you hot fire. You understand what I'm saying? I'm giving y'all hot fire.
Night 3 or 4. I hadn't lost track.
Yeah. And you who are not a night owl has become a night owl because you on right now. You on right now, but you dropping science. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm just telling people, like, every time, look, this show is from Monday to Thursday. You understand what I'm saying? Monday to Thursday. And I'm always going to find a way to soak y'all with some ism. You understand what I'm saying? Just pure ism, so that when you listen to this show, you understand that I'm not talking hypothetically, and I'm showing you all like what you would call a reconnaissance. I've been to the enemy lines and I'm reporting back to you as to what's happening on these lines. You understand what I'm saying? And how you need to move in this thing. And that's why, this is what I also want to say to people. I would like to salute the listeners of this. Because we just started 4 days ago, right? We had about 30 listeners. I know it's going to grow because people tune into what is valuable to them. But I do want to say that for the last 4 days, people have been hitting them cash apps out of appreciation. If you feel that this was valuable to you in any way, Run that Cash App, as my man Umar would say. You understand what I'm saying? Run the Cash Apps because it's about reciprocity. This world is about reciprocity. And what it does is it empowers me to keep doing this because I could be doing something else. But I'm not doing this for money, but I like to get appreciation. And how we measure appreciation, we do it numerically. You understand what I'm saying? We measure progress with numbers. The world is built on mathematics, y'all. And understand it's not about money, it's about units of measure. And if you appreciate something, you give people units of measure, something that can be measured. And this is the whole point, is that at some point, what y'all are going to realize is this: mathematics runs the world. The reason why I know Bitcoin is going to do what it's going to do is because I just applied mathematics to it. I knew Tesla is going to do what it's going to do because I applied mathematics to it. The reason why we've been able to reverse cancer is because I applied mathematics to it. And that's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm trying to tell you is the world is run by mathematics. The world is run by numbers. And anytime you hear people talking for any amount of time and they're not talking numbers, it's not a real conversation. They're just doing what we call in Africa called practicing English. You understand what I'm saying? Every time you hear us talk on this type of show, whoever comes in, you were here a couple days ago. I had an engineer come in who's an inventor who does 3D printing. We start talking numbers. You always going to hear numbers from me because numbers are the only things you can verify. Everything else is opinion. You understand what I'm saying? We're not here for opinion. We're here for verifiable evidence that can be falsified through numbers. And what I mean by falsified is it proven to be untrue. You understand what I'm saying? Too much in our community, we deal with too many opinions that cannot be proven. So we start ending up debating about religion, debating about this, these things that you cannot falsify. Believe in what you want to believe, but show up when the factory's open. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, because this is what this is all about. At the end of the day, my vision is whatever I'm doing, whatever wealth I have, is to deal with the final solution of turning Africa into a manufacturing power, because all of our resources are in Africa. And we solve the problem of racism and dealing with police brutality and all of these things once we solve our manufacturing problem, because that then makes us a superpower. Remember what I told y'all about the Opium Wars. Never forget the story. And if you didn't get the story about the Opium Wars, go to the live I did on Monday.
Okay. That
you
was
understand what I'm saying?
There was a lot of good historical information on
that. Yeah. The Chinese, when they were defeated in the Opium Wars, they understood why they were defeated, because they did not build a navy that could take the British. And when they lost, and they lost Hong Kong, which was their major port, to the British, it was called the period of disgrace, of national disgrace. And from that period of national disgrace, they made a decision that they would never be caught flat-footed again, and decided to become the manufacturers of the world, even though they don't have the human, they have the human resources, but they do not have the natural resources that Africa has. That's why the Chinese are in Africa. And I ain't mad at them. Why we aren't in Africa, and why Africans aren't using their raw materials and our raw materials to actually have a manufacturing base, because based on supply chain logistics, it actually makes the most sense to actually have factories in Africa, because it's closer to the raw materials. That's where the raw materials are. That's where you need to have your factory, supply chain science. And what I'm saying is that this needs to be the religion of Africans all over the world. I don't care if you think you Cherokee. I don't care if you think you from Jamaica. I don't care if you think you from Brazil, whatever. We've been gifted a continent that is the most valuable continent on the world. And we have to marshal our resources to build factories to create every single thing that we need. That's the type of time I'm on. And everything I do is about that. That's the type of time it is, because guess what? Even if you don't want to go to Africa, if Africa is a superpower, it protects you in America. You also get benefit from Africa being a superpower. But most of y'all who ain't into Africa, I know that y'all are fair weather friends. I know y'all, the Condoleezza Rices and the people like that who are allergic to Africa, who rather be something else, right? You'd rather be Native American than to be African because you're more comfortable hanging out with Hiawatha and Pocahontas than Akua and Kwame. You understand what I'm saying? You'd rather do that. And the reason why you'd rather do that because Africa is not a superpower yet, so you don't think that you can win yet. But I know these same people, Sister Kai, if Africa gets the economy of Japan, they're going to be black power tomorrow. They're going to be red, black, and green tomorrow because people just want to be on the winning team.
What did Trump slip and say years ago? He said, he said a while ago, Africa's where my friends go to get rich. Y'all don't remember he said that quote?
Okay.
Africa's where my friends go to get rich.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant by that?
Exactly. The resources. The resources.
Rich.
Those are our resources. From you are someone of African descent. Africa belongs to you. Don't listen to nobody else. We don't need to go into no history of Pan-Africanism and all of that. What I'm telling you is that there happens to be a continent full of people who look like you, your mama, and your cousin. And on that continent, under the ground, happens to be all the resources that cause these societies to run.
Hundreds of them.
We are dropping the ball by not having any manufacturing operations in Africa. I'm telling you that. And if it's just for greed alone, you're going to want a factory in Africa. Forget the emotionalism, forget the moralizing. If you are into being greedy, you're going to want to go to Africa and start some type of manufacturing operation. This is what we have. This is our answer. The Chinese did it. We have to do it. And that's what it is. And so every time I'm going live, I'm talking about these things, and just understand that I'm just laying the framework in different ways, and the way of thinking and the facts and the numbers to start marshaling our attention to the thing that's the elephant in the room that we don't want to look at. And the elephant in the room is we are from a continent that is the most valuable piece of real estate on earth. And once we get our act together, everybody's going to want a piece of it because everyone still wants a piece of it. But once we start developing it the way it needs to be developed, it's going to be heaven on earth. Trust me. It's going to be heaven on earth because I go back and forth to Africa, and I love being there than anywhere on earth. I just come to America to get some money, and then all that money goes right back into to Africa in some type of way. You understand what I'm saying? These are the conversations that have to take place. These are conversations that must take place, or else we playing games. And we are actually just wasting our time. That's what we're doing. We're wasting our times whittling away in a land that is not amenable to who we are. I mean, most people in America, you living in a land where only one state can actually really, really grow mangoes. Like, that don't even make no damn sense as tropical people. Like, that's crazy. like, really, think about that. Think about that. I mean, this is real conversation. Like, this is craziness. This is absolute craziness. And that's why most people sick, because you got low vitamin D, because you in a place where you ain't even supposed to be. Come on, man. Let's keep it real.
Place and we don't go outside. We inside all the time. We work
inside all the time. Working in some 9 to 5, not getting any sunshine, no nothing, low vitamin D levels, walking around basically with AIDS, because anytime you got vitamin D levels below 20, you literally walking around with acquired immune deficiency syndrome. This is what's happening to our people, and all-cause mortalities go up. I ain't got to talk to you. You deal with insurance. You know the actuary science that's going on. You know the numbers that our people face. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, somebody got to give people a real way to move. Like, it's got to happen, and it's going to be a meeting of the minds. We got a Sister Kai who's dealing with insurance. She's talking. She's telling you how you can save your money using Bitcoin as the best vehicle to save money. You understand what I'm saying? The other day we have engineers coming on. We have an aerospace engineer come on. We got a mechanic coming on who deals with cars and parts and understand the science of cars. We had, you know what I'm saying, an inventor come on. This is what keeps going on, because what I'm going to be doing with people is I'm just sharing my Rolodex. And what we get to find out is the people in this Rolodex, if we just start putting our heads together and working together, guess what happens? Kai says, Heru, I want to take me and my daughter to Rwanda. If you're there, let me know. So if I'm there, I'm picking you up from the airport. Why? Because we on the same page. Happy to meet you. And guess what happens? Now her daughter has a whole new lease on life and a whole new trajectory, because she's going to have friends in Rwanda. She's going to have friends in East Africa. She's going to have a place to go, a place to be, a place to develop, opportunities, options, choices that is outside of the prison of America and the prison of American culture.
The prison.
You understand what I'm saying? This is real, and this is how we do these types of things. And you know, Kai seemed like the sister. She would be ready to book a ticket when she ready to book a ticket. You understand what I'm saying? I can already tell you about that life.
Honey, I've been ready. This one right here. She want to go to Western. She want to go to Northwestern. Heru talked to her. I'm like, you don't have to
listen. That's cool, because that's all she knows.
Right.
But I've been to Northwestern. I used to take organic chemistry at Northwestern during the summer of 1992. I was in Northwestern every day during the summer, driving up and down the highway, pumping diggable planets. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. Tell your daughter that I said ain't nothing to see there. What she needs to do is understand is that there's a whole world that she should see. And so one of the things you do as a mother, one of the greatest gifts that you can give your children is get her passport stamp so she can see the rest of the world and start making friends in the rest of the world, because it's just about their socialization. She goes to Africa, if you can. I don't know if you're able to work remotely. If you're able to do that, what do you say?
You've been to South Africa 3 times.
Okay.
I need
Okay.
You got to get to some other countries. But yeah.
Okay. It's no problem. Listen. I got people who pick you up from the airport in Dar es Salaam, Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia. Just holler at your boy.
We're coming. I'm definitely going to reach out to you, because
and when you show up, my people will come and get you from the airport if I'm not there myself.
Got it.
This is how we do it.
I'd love to meet you in person too, but
absolutely. Where you at?
Right now I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, I'll be in Atlanta. I'll be giving a lecture, a health lecture in Atlanta.
Going over your book?
Probably. Excuse me?
Are you going to go over your book?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's going to be. It's about reversing cancer. It'll be in about probably a month and a half. I'll be in Atlanta.
Let me know. I'm coming to that.
Oh, no problem. I'll be posting it. I'll be in Atlanta. You know, Atlanta ain't too far from me, so that ain't nothing at all. But the whole point of these conversations, the whole point of this thing is for us to make these types of connections, so that what happens is that you have options, and it affects the trajectory of your children's lives when they understand these options. So you can go to your Northwestern and do that and do all that, but Africa ain't going nowhere. And what's important is that she knows what it's like to be in Africa. And you've already done her a great service by taking her to South Africa, because it's not something that's like something far-fetched thought to go to Africa. A lot of Black folks in America think like Africa is a whole different planet, like going to the moon. You understand what I'm saying? But you've already accomplished that for her. So she'll be more comfortable taking those trips. And as she matures, she'll start to see like, wait, there's a continent that I have some opportunities in, because right now Africa's under construction. And I'm telling people, investing in Africa is like investing in Amazon stock in 2000. It's an early stage startup stock that if you invest in, you're going to get a return on your investment, particularly human investment, because in Africa, once you make friends, I don't know if you made friends in South Africa, but I would hazard to guess that when you went to South Africa and you left with lifelong friends that you can contact till this day.
Going back to the same place, because the friends always want us to keep come visit.
Exactly.
some other places.
Exactly. Lifelong friends. You know what I'm saying? Where were you in South Africa? You were in Johannesburg?
I've done Joburg. I've done Cape Town. I've done
Okay.
what's the capital? What's the capital? Just
It's Joburg or Pretoria.
Pretoria.
Okay, Pretoria.
I haven't,
You've been to Durban?
no, I haven't done Durban yet. I had
Okay.
a trip short one time because she got sick. So we left late, but so I had to cut Durban for that one trip. But Durban's the one place I haven't been yet. And
Okay.
Port Elizabeth, is that what it is? I want to go down the Port Elizabeth area too. But I want to go to countries.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let me know the countries you're ready to go to, and I can put you in touch with people that I know personally on the ground. You can start reaching out to them on Facebook and start developing. I'll introduce you and everything. You just start developing some conversations, you know?
Coming. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all. So look, anybody got some questions? Anybody want to come on and chop it up? We can do that. We've been on for about 3 hours now. This is becoming a tradition with this show because there's a lot to say. But this is the gathering, man, and I hope that people got a lot out of this. You know what I'm saying? Because we were dropping a lot of information that I wish I would have had people drop on me when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like this is fabulous because there's a lot of people that I know needed these conversations. That it's a different level of conversation that you get anywhere. And it's also practical and it's pragmatic. And it's something that people can actually take the next steps on. So like, if you still want to know how to buy Bitcoin and learn some of the mechanics of it, contact the sister, contact Kai. She's a very serious person and she's going to lead you the right way. I've recommended people to her and they've all told me great things. So it's great. So I just love it. You know what I'm saying? Next week, I'm going to spend a day talking about the conflict in Israel. Now, people say, why is that important? Well, it's important because it could potentially cause nuclear warfare. So, you know, this is very important for people to understand what's going on. I'm going to give people my perspective. It's going to be a perspective that most people never really heard, but it's really going to be a psychological evaluation of the Jewish people. And they're really right now, you've got both sides in a state of psychopathy. They're psychopathic, and it's clear what happens when people are psychopathic and why. It's more than just them being extracts of Europe, and that's just what Europeans do in terms of taking people's land, because those of us of African descent have seen this happen over and over. It's a little deeper than that. But we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to have some guests come on who've actually been there. And also a brother who wrote a song about some of those issues, Brother Jelani Horton. We're going to talk about it. And it's going to be, I think, very informative. And anything that y'all want me to talk about, hit me up. There's a range of things that we can talk about that I think will be handled in a different way that, you know, other channels may be handling it. And just let your friends, let your family know about these lives that go on. We do Monday through Thursday, do 8 p.m. People say that's the best time. I'm thinking about sometimes doing afternoons. And people say they're at work, but I know y'all are free because y'all be posting on Facebook and stuff like that. So don't play with me. So what? So Sister Kai, you got anything you want to say? Any shout outs? Anything you want to say?
I appreciate, you know, if you've never heard me say it orally, you've seen me type it, but I appreciate having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As much as I could this week till I was passing out on you, but
yeah, good things.
Israel conflict. I heard on NPR today that there's a couple countries that are thinking of declaring, giving Palestine statehood. So I don't know if you heard about that, but
yeah. I mean, it's very deep. It's very, very deep. It's very deep. And I'm gonna tell you, I'll give y'all story time on that too, because I went to school with the guy who's the head of what they call the Anti-Defamation League. which is a Jewish organization. I went to school with the guy who's actually the head of it now, and I'll tell you a nice little story about my interaction with him. It was actually a very, very famous thing that happened on my campus. And then later on, he's head of the ADL, which I'm not really, I'm not surprised. His name is Jonathan Greenblatt. But we'll talk about that, and we'll get into it in a way that I think is different than how other people are covering things. And when you start understanding, see, Marimba Ani calls it the asili. And asili is the germinating root of a culture. And if you understand the germinating root of people in a culture, you can predict their behavior. Like you can predict what they're going to do 20 years in advance. So what they're doing in the news is that they're trying to obfuscate the asili of certain people to make you think that something different is really the agenda when it's actually very clear what's going on. And there's a lot of subterfuge going on, and we need to really understand it. And the U.S. news ain't going to do it for you. And if you never left this country, you just don't know how wicked the U.S. news is to actually leave the country and start seeing the world. Seeing it ain't what people saying it is. Not at all. The world is a different place than what's reported by the United States news. You know what I'm saying? So
this country is in no way ever innocent.
No, it's not innocent, and they don't give you the real deal. Like and a lot of it is based on fear mongering. I told the story the other day of like, I had a customer for Herbal Results complain to me about his order being delayed. Then I come to find out he's in Ukraine. And I'm like, why are you ordering? I'm like, why are you ordering and you in Ukraine? Of course it's delayed. Y'all in like, it's war. And he's like, no, we still get mail in Ukraine. I'm like, really? You getting mail in Ukraine? I thought it was being bombed. He's like, no, we get mail here still. So that's why I'm like, yo, like what they're reporting in the news is definitely not what. Everyone got pray for Ukraine flags or whatever. And this guy's waiting for his box pack and he's mad that it's late. And he's in Ukraine. Crazy. So, yeah. Anybody got anything they want to chime in? Any questions for myself or Sister Kai? This is the time to do it. Let's give a few seconds. You know what I'm saying? Big up to the Sister Kai. Big up to all she's doing for the people. She has very informative posts herself. Follow her on you have a YouTube?
My Ready Set Free is still up on YouTube. So
okay, she has Ready Set Free on YouTube. Kai Wilson on Facebook. You on Twitter or anything else?
I'm on Twitter, and I'm on. You know what? Since you said it, when I got my new phone, I never opened all the new apps. So I opened my back up. I do have an account there. It's my name and Ready Set Free, and I'm on Instagram too.
Okay, cool. So y'all can contact her. And Bolek Kajas one says, "How do we survive and thrive surrounded by psychopaths?" Very quickly, we're going to have to manufacture our own materials, and we have to manufacture our own airplanes, our own defense systems, and everything. We don't have any choice. There's no wiggle room around that. And so you have to understand that psychopaths around us is a constant, like the speed of light in E = mc². It's a constant variable. So once you have a constant variable, it's up to you to make changes around that constant variable. And if you can't defend yourself around psychopaths, you will be the victim of psychopaths, and it won't stop. So when I talk about manufacturing everything we need in Africa, this is part of it. And I've told the story about Kwame Nkrumah and the village called Atomic and what he was trying to do there. That was in one of the past lives. You can check it out. We can address it even further by looking at what Israel did in the former Palestine. If the Palestinians understood certain things and had certain things in place, this could have never happened. But it's a lesson for us to learn. And please understand that these people that we're calling Israelis are very serious people. I went to school with these people that they call themselves Jews, European Jews, and they are very intelligent people. They are some of the top scientists in the world, some of the top professors in the world, some of the top intelligentsia in the world, some of the top bankers in the world, top understanders of finance. These are very serious people. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because they have been trained that they are the chosen people of God. And so it builds a certain type of confidence in you, even though you may have a disastrous history of being kicked out of different countries where you feel like the whole world is against you. And it's part of their psychological profile. So we're going to get deep into this on Monday in a way that has not really been covered in other news channels or other channels, because I have direct relationships with Jewish people or European Jewry from growing up and going to school. So I understand where they're coming from. I understand their worldview. I understand their interpretation of history, but I also understand that these are very serious people and they're not people to be played with. They're very serious, and they know where the rubber meets the road, and they know how to move the needle, and they are very capable, and they should be studied.
I will be front and center again. I was born in Skokie, Illinois.
Okay.
So there you
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
In Skokie, Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jews and Polish people.
Oh,
White Jews and Polish people. So I know Skokie very well. I always pass by Skokie when I go by on Midway Airport.
My mother intentionally gave birth to me in Skokie, Illinois, because she said it was a very racist hospital back then. She didn't forced to stay in the hospital for days after having me. So I'm originally from Evanston. I'm raised my whole life in Evanston, but I was born in Skokie Valley Hospital.
Okay.
I know.
All right. Yeah. Okay. You got that Chi-Town energy. You got that Chi. What you know about Harold's Chicken? Stop playing.
Oh, yeah.
What you know about the Bud Billiken Parade? What you know about that?
Harold's Chicken they got here in Atlanta with the DJs and the
yeah, okay, they got all that. Okay.
Glass. Like,
yeah.
Silverware here?
Yeah. I grew up in Chi-Town, I went to University of Chicago High School.
There you go.
A laboratory school, so and I know Evanston pretty well, Like I said, I went to school in I went to summer school at Northwestern. So I used to pass by Evanston. I used to pass by North all the time. And in Evanston, I had some family out in Evanston as well. So yeah, I know all of that. I don't know all that area. So yeah, so we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk on Monday, y'all. It's gonna be a different conversation than we typically have. And it's not gonna be a conversation. I'm not gonna be like burning a fire on anybody, because I understand, like, I never fault people for doing what they think they need to do to survive for themselves or thrive. So that's why I never get mad at the Chinese for what they're doing in Africa. Because if I was Chinese, I'd be doing the same thing. If Africans ain't going to defend their land and Africans ain't going to build up manufacturing, and it's open for me to extract resources, I would do it too. You understand what I'm saying? It's about how can you stop other people from taking what's yours? And there's tried and true science and math behind that. And until we start focusing on that, instead of focusing on everything else, like marching, writing petitions, praying about it, we're thinking that someone's going to deliver us to some type of salvation on earth without applying the rules of what power is based on science, technology, mathematics, engineering, and manufacturing. If we want to ignore those things, then we get what we get. And I don't mince my words about that. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to talk, and it's going to put a lot of things into perspective. So on Monday, we're going to talk about the Israeli conflict, and it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor in a lot of ways for a lot of things, for the hunted becoming the hunter and the hunter becoming the hunted. In a lot of ways, it's a metaphor. It's something that we need to pay attention to. So we're going to really dive deep into it. So that's Monday. So I would like to wish everybody a great weekend. Tomorrow's Friday. Enjoy the day. I won't be doing any broadcasting tomorrow. If you enjoyed this show and you love what you heard, as Umar Johnson would say, run them cash apps. You understand what I'm saying? Because we got things to do with it. And it's called exchange of energy, and it's called reciprocity. So that's just what it is, man. So I like to give Sister Kai kudos for being who you are. Anything you need, just let a brother know. And, we're going to hook you up with the right people. And then please contact Sister Kai if you need to hire her services to learn more about Bitcoin, get your stuff together around Bitcoin. She will help you out because she was doing this before it was cool to do it. So bless up everybody, and we are going to end the stream. Thank you all. Peace.
Thank you.